Too generous. Now I've learned to never help you out, 'cause I'm done cleaning up your mess. Found myself in my regrets. I've become a little stronger now, a little stronger now.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on Tuesday night. We're proud to be back on Tuesday night, giving you the coverage of the Full Send Racing Series. I know we missed out on giving you the full broadcast of last week's race being at Charlotte, where Brian McCann found himself utterly dominating the race. He found himself into victory lane, as well as getting the pole and the stage win. No one could touch the 8 machine, but tonight, a completely different beast. It's the paperclip for the Next Level Racing 200 at Martinsville. The drivers are prepared for race number 10 of the season, and we're ready as well up in the booth. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me is going to be Trevor Earhart. And Trevor, I know we weren't able to get last week's broadcast, but Brian McCann, it was an utter dominance. He led every lap but 20, and that was just because of the way that pit stops kind of rolled around there early in the race. But besides that, the 8 machine looked like no one could touch him.
Yeah, it was definitely untouchable last week, and just an utterly dominating performance from the drop of the green flag. But here at the Paperclip, Sam, tight racing, single groove, bump and run, enemies could be made here tonight. This is going to be a good race here at Martinsville.
And drivers are prepared for what could be a very chaotic night. Short track racing is never a friend to any, and unless you are the lead driver at most of the time, as drivers are putting in their qualifying numbers, as they will have 2 laps to put down their fastest lap for themselves, and only 5 minutes to do so. As you see our timer clocking down, currently it's the 99 of Brandon Colley, who has the pole award. Then fill-in driver Brandon Pierce going to be in the 39 machine. For Doug Pierce, he's going to be second on the board. We got a lot of fill-in drivers heading into tonight's race, but Still, a lot of hope on how tonight's race could potentially be ran as the fill-in driver, Brendan Pierce, taking the pole award here late as we still have 3 minutes left. Take that away. Christopher Norris going to find some late dashing speed here.
Yeah, the winner from Spa getting the fastest lap currently. Here comes the 55 around to complete a lap to see where it's going to put him on the board, and that's going to be the 55 of Sam Siegel crossing the line and going to put Sam all the way down there in 21st on his first attempt there, Sam. And track position going to be important tonight with how hard it is to get passes done here at Martinsville.
It certainly is. And talking about the fill-in drivers, here are the fill-in drivers that are going to be running here tonight. Filling in for Andrew Medlin in the 12 machine, it's going to be Trey Jackson. Then filling in the 42 Cole Sacchetti machine will be Bill Dart. Then in Doug Pierce, like we talked about, it's Brandon Pierce that will fill in for the 39. Ross Tatum not going to be able to showing up for tonight's race. Instead, it will be Steven Bustler taking over the 21 machine, and Tyler Thomas will be missing out on tonight's race in the 11 machine, driven by Dalton Alexander. So quite a few, one of the biggest fields of fill-in drivers, and what a track to bring in some fill-in drivers, as still it's Christopher Norris top of the board. But what speed can be made by drivers that we know can be fast here in the past? As a driver that's gotten the full award previously, Cameron Sarton, hoping that he can find some fast times, not able to do so, only up to 18th. But the driver on everyone's mind has to be the 32 with Zach Hall. Confidence coming into this week, not very high, but he's won the last 2 Martinsville races back in season 3 and last season for season 4. Could he become the 3-peat winner here at this course?
Could very well be. Qualified in 5th, though, after his 2 laps. Chris Stitz on his qualifying run to see where it's going to put the 17 machine. But Sam, I got to say, really surprised from the 24 of Cameron Sarton all the way down in 18th position for the 2-time champion. Really struggling in the qualifying session.
Big thing, though, for the 2-time champ is at least he won back at Homestead for race number 6 this season. So even with a poor night, he's still looking to be locked into the points, to be not worrying about the next handful of races that are upon us after tonight. Just 5 more races on who will be set up to run for a championship, as only 12 drivers will do so. But for tonight, seeing those lead dashing moves, where can you place yourself? And Chris Stitz up to 6th position. And the last driver to try to put down time with 50 seconds left. Of course, it's Ryan Lynch, always waiting to be the last driver. Hoping the track can be his coolest moment, so he has the maximum amount of speed.
Yeah, thankfully here at Martinsville, with it being only about a 19.5-second lap, plenty of time, even with 50 seconds left in the session, to get both laps in. With how short it is, and Lynch going to go out here and see if he can get a good qualifying position for this 3-car. Has had a pretty good run of qualifyings as of late, and see if he can capitalize on that here tonight.
Trying to do so, Ryan Lynch, hoping this 3 can have some speed. First lap going to be a little bit slower, on the slowest that everyone's waiting for to put down a time, almost a full second slower than 27th position on course. So saving a little bit extra speed for this second lap is the 3 machine. As we're getting for the last time to be clocked in, 3 seconds left in qualifying, and Ryan Lynch not able to advance in timing. He'll close it in a lot quicker to 27th place position, being that of Alex Jones. But the rest of the field, it's going to be hot and heavy. Who can handle the short track racing at the Paperclip for the Next Level Racing 200? Let's find out for the Full Send Racing Series Season 5, race number 10. Practice is over, qualifying is over, and let's take a look at our qualifying results with Christopher Norris, Spa winner, going to be taking the pole award with Brandon Pierce in the 39 machine in 2nd. Brendan Colley going to be in 3rd position, looking to be in close to a must-win scenario, looking at how the point standings have been lining up for the 99. Good start here at Martinsville, but it's the driver in 4th, Brian McCann, the most winningest driver this season with 4 wins, can get win number 5 here at the Paperclip. We'll have to watch out. But behind him in 5th, Zach Hall, the 2-time winner here at Martinsville, to get himself in a big feeling once again. Chris Stitz in 6th, Travis Start in 7th, Ken Campbell 8th, 9th is the fill-in driver Dalton Alexander, and Jacob Grant finishing out our top 10.
Cedric Hunter will start in 11th with Will Bustler in 12th. Tony Brin will be 13th with Brian Wilson in 14th. Nick Holland will start 15th with David McConnell in 16th. William Duff will be in 17th with Philip Chavez in 18th. 19th will be the two-time champ Cameron Sarton, and 20th will be the 94 of Joshua Altus.
21st position's the 10 of Jay Becker. 22nd spot goes the 6 of Jonathan Burt. In 23rd, fill-in driver for Ross Tatum, it's Steven Bustler in the 21 and 23rd position. Another fill-in driver in 24th, that's Trey Jackson filling in for Andrew Medlin. John Dark going to be in 25th position. Sam Siegel in 26th. 27th is Alex Jones. Last driver put in a time, going to be the 3 machine of Brian Lynch, with seeing Christopher Melton, Curtis Malechka, and Peter Dillon. Going to be your last 3 drivers. 31 drivers in total going to be racing here tonight. And with that large of a field, I think a lot of drivers going to be knowing, hey, this track is already claustrophobic with just 10 drivers on track, but with 30, got to be careful with everyone that's around you.
Gonna have to be careful with everybody around you, different braking zones going on here tonight, and lap traffic could play a key role in this. We've seen it in real life racing, we've seen it throughout the course of the season. Lap traffic can be difficult, and here at Martinsville, with it being one groove, lap traffic might be something these leaders have to watch out for.
As the pace car starts rolling off, these drivers are going to be given 2 laps of pacing here this evening. Tonight's race is going to be a total of 200 laps in total. We do have a stage break at the end of lap 60, where the top 10 drivers will have bonus points to be given. No fast repairs and 4 extra sets of tires in pit road for tonight's race. But the fact that we got our stage break at lap 60, curious on what the aggression level is going to be for these drivers in the early going. Are they going to test the limits right off the bat, or are they going to be calm before the storm of the second half of this race?
It's going to be interesting to see. And what happens if we get a caution, somewhere around lap 40 before the stage break? Are we going to see tire strategy from some guys to try to get stage points? Things we're going to have to keep our eye out on. And Sam, I just expect to see a lot of front bumpers and rear bumpers beat up by the end of tonight.
Absolutely. Robbins Racing and stock car racing, and drivers got some bumpers to be utilized. They got fenders to squish, and it's time for us to give you all the racing action here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Thank you so much for joining with us here on your Tuesday evening. Race number 10 about to be rolling here for the next level racing 200 at Martinsville. Out of the exit turn number 4 into the restart zone. We're green for Christopher Norris, Brandon Pierce as they head down in turn number 1, but they're already wrecking in the back half of the field as they didn't even enter turn 1. Half of the field's already in gridlock and trying to get themselves pointed in the right direction.
Looks like Joshua Altus, one of those drivers involved in that, looks like he might have gotten spun around. And I think it was a little bit of a bad start from the top line of Brandon Pierce there. Kind of spun the tires and checked up the top line, and that just kind of accordions throughout the field. I saw the one-on-one with Philip Chavez with a little bit of front end damage, but damn, we didn't even make it to turn 1 and already under caution.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of decisions on how you want to attack that restart, and it just looked like there was so much of a gap built up between each car. They were not stacked properly for this restart, as the field just tries to pace around, get prepared for how they wanted this restart to attack. You're starting to see a little bit of gaps being built up for how they wanted to go for the restart. Ultimately, it didn't work out as well as they were hoping off the exit of turn 4 going into turn number 1.
Yeah, just one of those things here on the restart, really easy to have issues. You can kind of see here, I believe this is the replay of the start. Everybody trying to get going, a little bit of wheel spin from some drivers. Chavez with some wheel spin, and then the 94 there of Altus getting caught from behind, getting spun around with more drivers involved.
The chain reaction, I mean, if one driver makes a mistake and you're trying to catch up to the driver in front of you, you gas it up, you don't give yourself enough time to react. And there was a lot of just contact between one another, of that chain reaction just building up bigger and bigger as each car gets collected into that momentum. And utterly, we got to see that incident that ballooned out where Joshua Altus was. Spun around, bringing out our first caution, didn't even get to get 1 lap in the books. Instead, the field gets to stack back up, get ready for another restart, and this is the one thing that kind of gets a little nerve-wracking with short track racing, is you never know what you're going to get yourself into, if there's a chance of a long green flag run, or if this race can turn into a caution fest. Tonight, we're hoping maybe that's just one mistake and they can kind of grow from this. But that one mistake, not the timing of the yellow that we were expecting to have for our first one to come out.
Yeah, definitely not the timing we were thinking, but I mean, it's one of those things in racing on these restarts. Everybody's trying to get every position they can when you're this bunched up, and further on back in the pack, guys trying to use first gear to get a good launch, maybe a little bit of wheel spin, trying to time it right. And think back there, Sam, and further in the back, you got to be a little bit patient. Maybe go for the second gear restart just to make sure you get rolling properly, and hopefully we can get that cleaned up on this restart.
As drivers have been given a 1 lap extended on our caution, trying to give enough time for drivers that were had to take a wave around. Because of the timing of the yellow and the way that it came out, some drivers never crossed the line before the yellow flag came out, which forced them to be in front of the leaders once the pace car caught up. So now we're hoping that this gets everyone cycled to the right position as the pace car lights are off. We're going this time by as the field finally is able to close back in. Everyone should be back on the lead lap. 31 drivers entered tonight, 31 going to be expected for this restart. Just our first caution in the books, but let's see if we can get some green flag racing. Who can really solidify themselves up front? As you look at past races, the driver that gets the pole usually leads the most laps and then finds themselves in a victory lane. Will tonight be the same story? Christopher Norris is hoping so to get his second win this season. Pace car is in pit road. Let's try this restart one more time as the next level racing 200 is back underway.
Yeah, it was a great restart there from Norris. Got a good jump in the box. Brandon Colley looks like he's going to clear the 39 of Brandon Pierce, and Brian McCann's going to be side by side. That's going to be the battle for third. That's going to be where we're seeing everybody side by side behind them. McCann trying to get clear of that 39. Zach Hall battling with Chris Stitz for fifth and sixth position. That bottom line trying to prevail, but the outside get a pretty good run. That being the 8 of McCann on the 39 of Brandon Pierce.
Trying to find that little bit of extra grip on the outside groove, but it's going to be difficult. That outside lane is so hard to find that acceleration that you need on the exit of the corner as it just sneaks up off the exit on the outside wall, being right there. And Zach Hall not wanting to give space for Brian McCann to slot right in between the drivers. He'll keep a nose, and the aggression entering turn number 1. It's the 8 machine, 32, trying to keep it close, but yellow flag is out as Joshua Altis spun around once again, this time off the exit of turn 4.
A bit of rough start to the night for the 94 of Joshua Altis, being involved in our first 2 cautions of the night, and I think he got a little bit of help here on the exit of turn number 2. I'll have to see who he got help from. Actually, it was in front of him, it looks like. Sam Siegel, Ryan Lynch, and then Altis just locking the brakes to spin it out, Sam.
Yeah, and that little bit of help, I believe, trying to get a closer look, as you see there, spun is Ryan Lynch, and then a big tap being sent to the rear end. As that was the 6 that got into the back bumper of Joshua Altis being Burt. And Altis being spun around, hates to get more damage already, but luckily we're at a short track and get some damage and still be at almost full pace as long as you come into pit road and get some of that optional repairs done. No drivers with required damage. It takes quite a bit of a bang if you're going to be finding yourself being knocked out of this race on just one incident, but it gives time for drivers to enter pit road, get some service done, as a lot of the drivers are involved in that first caution and the second, finally able to come into pit road.
Yeah, get these repairs done, and like you said, here at short track, damage isn't as important as what it was last week at Charlotte, but new damage model also on the Xfinity car, so a little bit more tougher than it used to be. So hopefully for Altis and those involved, the damage they received isn't going to be as bad as what we've seen in the past, and then get that fixed and get back out there and get up to full speed.
Want to get themselves prepared for this race. You know, Trevor, we were talking about the fact that before this broadcast started on how many races were left in the regular season. The cut line slowly inching forward. And if you look at the way the points are looking coming into tonight, John Dart, Brian L. Wilson, those are the cutoff drivers, with John Dart being in 12th, Brian L. Wilson 13th. That's just a 9-point buffer. Drivers got to be careful on how tonight's race goes. If you have a bad race here tonight, could set you up for a couple of bad nights as we've got 5 more races until this regular season is over.
It really could, and with the size of the fields that we've seen from anywhere from 30 to 38 cars week in, week out, I mean, having a bad night here at Martinsville and finishing in the bottom half of the 20s, if you're near that cutoff line, could really hurt you going into a place like Indianapolis next week that can be really kind of track position dependent, and following that, I mean, it can just kind of snowball for you. So these guys involved in these wrecks early on are definitely going to be trying to bounce back.
They definitely are going to try their best as the field is stacked up. They've been given the 1 to go marker. They're taking off this time by. And up front, it's Christopher Norris. Brandon Colley going to be your front 2. Brandon Pierce going to be in 3rd. Zach Hall 4th. Chris Stitz 5th. 6th is Brian McCann. McCann's hoping to get back into the fight as he will be side by side in that 3rd row. Pace car into pit road. Here we go again as it's our second restart of the night into the restart zone. We're green. Outside lane got a decent launch for themselves, but it's going to be Brandon Pierce side by side, putting that of Brandon Colley in a little bit of a tricky spot as we spun around, issues in the back, and it's another collision for drivers further on back.
Yeah, it looks like another stack up on the restart. It's going to bring out our third caution of the night. And same cautions breed cautions, but who would have thought it would have started on essentially lap 0 and just keep snowballing down.
And watch out for the 0-0. That's going to be seen. We've got a Steve Bustler, who's the driver that's going to self-spin in front of the field right on entry. Looks like his brake bias might have been a little bit off and parking right in the racing line. No one knows where to place themselves because everyone's so clustered on top of one another. You're kind of forced to just run into the 0-0. And that will be our third caution of the day. A very odd incident. But hey, if you've been messing with your brake bias, trying to find that perfect one you're looking for, very easy to find yourself in an incident like this.
Yeah, and really one of those things that we don't touch on a lot, but when you come to the short tracks, a lot of guys tend to run a lot of rear brake bias to help get the car to rotate, especially here at Martinsville with how tight the corners are. And you know, if you're not ready for it, you have to get on the brakes hard. Really easy to lock up those rear tires and spin yourself out. And I think that's exactly what happened there that brought out that caution.
Well, these drivers already getting to hear a lot of noises of scrap metal being made, as well as running into one another in a good way for yourself. If you'd like to be more engaged with the sounds around you, well, that's where one of the major sponsors of the Full Send Racing Series can help you out. ButtKicker, feel what you've been missing. Instead of just hearing the sounds, why not feel the sounds? That's what the Gamer 2 offers you, as it's a solid object that you attach to your racing rig or to your chair, and it moves with the sounds, allowing you to really feel and be more immersed into what you're listening into. A great product to help drivers. If you think back to the pandemic, heard a lot of drivers when they weren't able to do real life racing talked about how a lot of the feeling aspects really helped you feel a lot more of how you can attack the track. Well, the ButtKicker helps you in that manner of helping you become a faster driver while being more immersed. Thank you so much to ButtKicker for being one of the major sponsors here at the Full Send Racing Series. I said racing rig. Well, if you'd like to go buy a racing rig, one of the best places to start, Next Level Racing. Elevate your racing today while going to nextlevelracing.com. A wide range of selections from budget items that they have just been producing a lot more of recently on trying to help with your bank account, while also offering some of the best racing rigs on the market. Or you can go with their high ends that are made for you to be more stable and feel like you're racing in the car right in your living room. Thanks so much to the amazing sponsors of Next Level Racing and ButtKicker. As the field's getting ready to get back to racing action, Christopher Norris is going to be your front runner right now. But Trevor, it's you've got some friends that know each other up front. Christopher Norris, Brandon Colley, Zach Hall. It's got to be helpful when you have allies that you know are around you at a short track that's this aggressive.
Yeah, it's got to be nice knowing that, hey, I'm going to probably get raced pretty cleanly by these guys that are around me. So those guys have raced a lot with one another in various leagues, so I'm sure they're going to be friendly to each other for now. Later on in the race, probably not so friendly as we get ready for this restart.
Christopher Norris, Brandon Colley, they were working with one another last night as Norris and Colley were, Norris was racing, Colley was the spotter. Well, tonight they're both competitors as we're back to green flag action for the Next Level Racing 200. A great launch for Christopher Norris. Colley trying to cover off the hard-charging 39 machine will do so. Zach Hall will fall into that fourth. In our top four, already trying to solidify in line. Take that back. Zach Hall trying to work that outside groove to try to make a pass on third place.
Yeah, how aggressive is Zach Hall going to be here to get around this 39? Is he going to try to get this pass down on the outside and risk maybe losing some positions if these guys can get single fouled behind him, or really fall in line behind behind Brandon Pierce? Looks like Zach's going to continue this battle for third position with the 39 car. So they're going to be side by side going into 3 and 4. A little bit of contact between the two, but no harm, no foul there. As Zach Hall continuing to try to hold off. But same, he's got to be careful. There's lined up single foul behind him. If he loses a lot of time here, he could fall way back in the field.
Yeah, I mean, you can only fight for so long, and it looks like for Zach Hall, he'll relinquish that battle as we look back at some other drivers that are trying to find their own pacing here. Ken Gamble, pretty good in points, just needs a couple of good races for himself, running in 7th, but side by side, Cedric Hunter, Travis Dart, some drivers on very different game plans. Travis Dart just needing a good top 10 run, maybe a top 5 run at the end of the night. Cedric Hunter, though, a must-win scenario for almost every race moving forward if he's going to find himself into the playoffs.
Yeah, Cedric Hunter is going to be one of those drivers that is in that must-win situation moving forward. If he wants to make the playoffs, Travis Dart just needs some stage points and a good finish for himself. Realizes that, lets the 7 machine go, and now going to try to hold off the fill-in driver of Dalton Alexander behind him. And Alexander, one of those guys that has speed in the races he's run, just hasn't had the finishes. So that 11 car going to look to work his way forward. But another caution.
Oh, it's our leaders making contact with one another, as it's going to be Brandon Colley, Christopher Norris spun around off the exit of turn 4.
And that is not something that you want to see the race leaders involved in. Colley, another one of those drivers, saying that is probably going to be in one of those must-win scenarios. Car doesn't look too beat up on the front end, but Norris definitely with some rear end damage. We got to look and see what happened here going into turn number 3.
And this is something that Christopher Norris is known for, just aggressively trying to hold off, and Colley trying to fit the nose, and there's just enough space, but hard contact after the fact also of Pierce into Colley's front bumper. That was some heavy damage for himself. Christopher Norris, Brandon Colley, they'll now have to start all the way at the end of the line for this next restart.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of track position loss for those two. And just one of those things, Colley got in there clean, got to the inside of Norris, a little bit of contact in the middle of the corner, probably got the 99 loose, and you saw the overcorrection there up into the side of the 38, sent him around, and then contact with the 39 of Brandon Pierce. But Pierce going to stay out here and inherit the lead from these guys. So a gain from Brandon Pierce, but that could have been a huge wreck with our 2 leaders being involved in it.
And we talked about how, you know, these drivers are ran with one another, that being Colley and Norris. A lot of practice this past week on trying to get ready for this race, and instead backfires with having the dominance up front. And in the first 25 laps of the race, it goes up in smoke. Now they got to figure out, how do you work through this field where we've had so many cautions, and now you're going to be in the heart of where a lot of these accidents have been happening. Back half of the field, how are you going to be able to react when you're one of the fastest drivers with some of the slower paces that's deeper in the field?
Yeah, this is where they're going to have to really be careful working their way through the field. I mean, we've already seen a bunch of incidents on these restarts in the back half of the field with drivers getting into one another, spinning themselves out, trying to stay off of one another. And now these two are going to have to work their way from the back to the front. And then how much frustration is there between these two drivers? We know you spotted for one another, raced with one another, but I mean, there's got to be a little bit of frustration between Chris and Brandon Colley with it only being lap 26 and taking themselves out of great track position.
And now they're going to have to work all the way back. 25th position is Christopher Norris and Brandon Colley, but they come into pit road once again. They are dealing with some heavy damage, forcing them back into pit road for the second time to get service done. This time's going to be a little bit shorter because they're so far back in the field. Other drivers that have been getting repairs done under this caution going to be John Dart, as well as that of Brian Wilson. Steve Bustler going to be also in pit road getting his service done. Joshua Altus has been periodically coming into pit road, and Curtis Velechka, who had to come to pit road under green flag conditions, had a black flag, had to get served for the 44, and he's currently 8 laps down. With more drivers going a lap down, that's going to be rough to get Curtis Velechka back on the lead lap, who you think back to the first half of the season, he was known for keeping that nose out of trouble and taking the advantage of drivers that would get in wrecks.
Yeah, he did a really good job of it just tonight with Stephen Bustler going around in front of him, had nowhere to go, got hard contact into to Stephen's side there, and Velechka had to come down, serve a penalty, get some damage fixed. But I mean, same with the way this race has been going. I mean, don't count him out on getting potentially back on the lead lap.
Absolutely not. Pace cars into pit road. 4 cautions have already been thrown. How many more will it balloon out to? Let's find out as we enter into the restart zone. Green flag is out as we mark the halfway marker of our stage break at the end of lap 60. Only top 10 get bonus points, and it's going to be Brandon Pierce pulling away. Great launch for the 39 machine. Zach Hall will slot into second as our top 4 looking pretty stout as Chris Stitz working the outside lane for the 17.
Stitz trying to get around the 8 of McCann, last week's winner there, to see if he can get up into 3rd position, maybe go have a shot at Zach Hall and Brandon Pierce. But McCann going to try to do everything he can to hold off the 17, gets that pass clear. Now here comes the 15 of Ken Campbell, going to look to try to get past Chris Stitz, but Stitz might have an opening, decides not to take it on the 15, and now potentially might lose this spot to Ken Campbell and the 7 of Cedric Hunter, but might be able to fall in line down here down the front stretch.
Oh, what a dive by the 17. Really not trying to give up on any space. Almost ran into the 8 other drivers, though, further on back. Tony Brett, as well as Nick Holland, have been side by side this whole entire restart, have not given up any positions. As as the 28 and the 13 is just a fight on who's going to be in 12th place to see if they can try to make a little sneaky move to grab themselves inside of the top 10.
Yeah, just right outside the top 10 for those stage points here. They can settle out this battle, might have a chance to go try to track down the 19 of Jacob Grant. And how about the 24 of Cameron Sarton? Sam started all the way back in 18th position, already up into the top 10 for himself. Is Brent able to clear, our Daytona winner, able to clear the 13 there of Nick Holland?
I mean, riding on board the 24, hit right on Dalton Alexander's bumper was that of the 24 machine. And yeah, I mean, big moves. Is currently our biggest mover of the night, up 9 positions, is Cameron Sarton. Good job for himself as trying to pick and choose how do you want to attack this 11 machine, who's also trying to figure out how to get by the 1 of Will Bustler, who looks to be a little bit struggling as the 1 machine at times, but Dalton Alexander feeling the most pressure with the 24 on that back bumper.
Yeah, I mean, he's got Cameron Sarton all over the rear bumper as he tries to figure out a way to pass and defend at the same time, which makes it really tricky as a driver to figure out what you need to do. As Alexander looking for a way to get past Will Bustler. Bustler using a little bit higher line through the center of the corner, which kind of allows 11 to show his nose, but hasn't been able to quite get the nose underneath the 1 machine. And you can see it there again. Bustler just taking about a half a car length line off the bottom compared to everybody else around him.
37 laps into this race. Good stage break at the end of lap 60, where top 10 drivers get bonus points. First gets 10 bonus points. Second gets 9. Third gets 8. Continues to dwindle down by 1 point per position until you get 10th place, where they only get 1 bonus point for themselves. So that 1 crucial bonus point can get you in or out of the playoffs. Still in that final push for this series on who's going to be in the playoffs or not after tonight. 5 more races, and these races going to be tough. They head to Indianapolis, Phoenix, Talladega, Las Vegas, and Richmond before they have the Halloween break before the playoffs begin. It's going to be an interesting time as yellow flag is out, and it's the 9 machine of Brian Wilson bringing out our 5th caution of the day.
And Wilson, a driver close to the bubble, Sam, needing a good run here tonight and having some more issues for himself. Was caught up had a little bit of damage, I believe, from the first caution of the night, now caught up in another caution. This could be interesting right at about lap 40-20 to go to the stage break. How many drivers decide to come down pit road as we get a replay of what happened to the 9?
That's the 9 machine. It's going to be aggressively entering turn 3 in the rear end. Just already lost before he even goes turning into the corner. And another one of those situations where it just seems like getting hard on the brakes. The rear end is not happy right now with this Xfinity car currently.
Yeah, just that brake bias, a little bit too far back maybe for his liking, or just got in a little bit deeper than normal for himself, loops the car around. Thankfully kept it off the wall, everybody else able to avoid him, but could be some pit strategy playing out here, Sam, from these drivers. A couple guys on pit road, but I think a majority of the top half of the field staying out here on this caution.
It's so difficult to even think about coming into pit road. I mean, we've already had 5 cautions. Whenever a caution flag comes out, that's around 4 laps that's being used, 4 to 5 laps under pacing that's being utilized. So drivers recognize, hey, yes, we've ran 41 laps and we've got 20 laps still to go, but how many of those 40 laps have really been under green flag conditions? Track position seems to be just too key to give up coming into pit road unless you're dealing with that heavy damage, which once again, drivers have been caught up in all of our wrecks so far, have all decided to come into pit road, get some more damage repaired for themselves, as Joshua Altus, I believe, will be getting the lucky dog spot for the 94, so putting us back at 29 drivers on the lead lap.
Altus finally getting back on the lead. Had 2 spins, now finally back on the lead lap, and I think that's just going to leave Stephen Bustler 1 lap down, and then Curtis Volechka will be the next car a couple laps down. So a couple more cautions, Sam. Curtis could be starting to get some of those laps back, but you know what we could see if we get another caution here with maybe 5 to go, 10 to go before the stage, maybe some guys stay out and flip this stage that are further back in the field.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty big flip if you're going to be coming into pit road now, taking that pit stop. I think one of the drivers that we can really see maybe going for that gutsy call of coming into pit road, getting service done, and taking tires at this moment and saying, hey, once the stage yellow comes out, expecting everyone to come into pit road and get service done, watch out for the 5 of John Dart. Could be one of those drivers that could be sneakily making the pit stop where he could have some good speed up front after this stop is over. And also for Christopher Norris trying to get service done, how will 38 be able to find himself up front for himself, as penalty being cleared for Christopher Norris as he's trying to come into pit road as many times as possible to get his repairs done. But up front, Brandon Pierce, Zach Hall, Brian McCann, those top three, Trevor, they seem to be able to get in line pretty quickly. Curious on how well they're going to make this run on this restart, because if we're going to make a move for this lead position, I'm imagining you're going to have to be pretty quick with this aggression. And for Zach Hall, that of also McCann, there's no reason to be too aggressive because they've already gotten a win this season and are locked into the playoffs.
Yeah, for those two, no reason to put your car in danger and get damage here for Brandon Pierce, just filling in, trying to do the best he can in that 39 machine. Ken Campbell might be aggressive here, but his teammates right in front of him as Pierce gets ready to launch here in the restart.
As the pace cars into pit road, into the restart zone, we are green once again as Brandon Pierce, 39 machine, filling in for Doug Pierce. Zach Hall, what a launch by the 32 to the inside, trying to take this lead away. Driver that's won the last two Martinsville races, and once he gets up front, it's been difficult for anyone to pass him, and just like that, last season's champion is now leading here at Martinsville.
What a move from Zach Hall. He got a great launch, got a great run out of the exit at turn number 2, got to the inside of the 39, able to get him cleared. McCann now is going to be sitting in third. Cedric Hunter up to the inside of Ken Campbell in the 15. That's going to be the battle for that of fourth position. Now move Cedric Hunter up to 4th, so the 7 on his way forward, and then back behind them the 26. Travis Stark trying to get to the inside of the 17 of Chris Stitz. Will Bustler, the 11, Dalton Alexander. Those 4 battling it out with that of the 24 of Cameron Sarton just sitting there waiting to see if he can find an opening.
Got to make these moves quickly because once everyone single files out, it's so hard to set up the passes. Right on board the 8 machine, Ryan McCann. How does he attack these front 2 drivers after such a dominant performance last week at Charlotte, leading over 80% of the race? This 8, can he find some sneaky speed that maybe they can get him up front? As currently looks like he's pretty okay. We're just running where he's at. His caution flag waves, and it's going to be seen. Driver stuck on the inside out for the exit of turn 4, bringing out this yellow.
Looks like the 19 involved, the 77 of William Duff, the 4 of David McConnell spun around in that. Not quite sure what led to that, but a couple cars there involved in an incident on the exit of turn number 4.
It looked to be initially it was the 19 that got spun around ahead of this 4. See there, hard contact all around, and then small tap looping the 4, who gets probably the biggest shunt of them all and the most damage of that incident. I believe that was the 77 of William Duff that got into Jacob Grant that started that incident. And, you know, just small contacts showing to be a major issue here tonight, bringing out our 6th caution of the evening.
Yeah, it looked like Duff got into the back of Grant, spun him around, and then I believe it was the 45 of Alex Jones that got into the back of the 4 of David McConnell. They kind of finished the 4 off and sent him around. And again, another caution here, and this could be that potential area 10 to go to the stage where we see some guys come in. Christopher Norris, Jacob Grant, Brian Wilson, and those guys. Is this the point where these guys maybe think about flipping this stage and getting that track position?
Well, for Jacob Grant, 4 tires and fuel. The 00 of Steven Bustler also has already taken 4 tires and fuel and damage repairs. Going to be ahead of those drivers. Brian Wilson taking some damage repair and tires, as well as Burt. I mean, I think that's a great call on their part because we got 10 laps left before the stage break yellow comes out. But if there is a caution between lap 55 and lap 60, that will also count as our stage break. So this technically could be one of the last restarts before this stage is over. So drivers got to be recognizing, hey, if there's a quick caution, we might get another attempt at, you know, getting inside of the top 10. Otherwise, got to be perfect on getting inside the top 10 to get those stage points now.
Yeah, it's going to be a dogfight back there. Where you look at Will Bustler's in 8th, Cameron Sarton 9th, Chris Stitz is in 10th. You got Tony Brent, Nick Holland, Jay Becker, Philip Chavez. I mean, you're 8th through 14th there. I mean, that's going to be where all this fighting is going to be for that stage, for those stage points. And that could be where we see a caution come out before the stage break if those guys get to battle and one another really hard.
As the drivers, Zach Hall, Brandon Pierce, setting up how do you want to tackle this restart. This is also going to be an interesting restart because Zach Hall, Cedric Hunter, kind of similar to Brandon Colley and Christopher Norris. They usually practice with one another, not officially on the same team, but could Zach Hall and Cedric Hunter maybe work with one another? Well, that answers my question pretty quickly as they came across the line. Hall to the inside. He'll keep McCann right behind him. So can Brian McCann time this restart and be tagged along and get by maybe without a Brandon Pierce before this stage is over?
That's going to be a good restart here behind Zach Hall. Going to have to pretty much take off when Hall does, but we've seen the leaders be able to get a great restart, and kind of the second place guy on the outside hold up the guy in third, but we'll see if McCann can get that great restart. What is Cedric Hunter going to be able to do? He was on the move on that lap before that last caution came out. Here we go, Sam.
As they enter the restart zone, Zach Hall waiting until the very last moment to hit the throttle pedal, which is going to allow Brian McCann to be side by side for that a second place. Cedric Hunter slots right to the inside groove, trying to slowly make their march forward as these drivers lap 54 as they march into lap 55. If a caution flag would come out, that will count as the stage break. These drivers all recognizing it's go time, no give, all take, as Zach Hall pulls away with Brian McCann in second.
And Zach Hall did exactly what he needed to. Brian McCann did what he needed to, and Cedric Hunter was the most aggressive, was able to get to the inside, cut off the 15 of Ken Campbell. Now still going to be stuck side by side with the 39 here. Brandon Pierce, Campbell, and Travis Dart battling with one another, but Cedric Hunter going to be able to clear up for third position. Now Brandon Pierce back to fourth, but that battle for sixth and seventh continues with Campbell and Travis Dart.
The driver that's ultimately losing right now in the purple and black being Chris Stitz, falling all the way outside of the top 10, battling for 10th place as Ken Campbell and Travis Dart fight side by side, but Campbell with a better run as we are closing in to the 2 lap to go window before pit road is closed for this field. But again, if a caution flag would come out at this moment, that would count as the stage. That's why we're starting to see this aggression really mounting up as Will Bustler in the 1, hard blocking moves on the drivers behind him.
Yeah, he got stacked up, made a little bit of contact with the 24 of Cameron Sarton out of turn number 2, got him checked up, and almost gave up a position there to the 28 of Tony Brent, who's still fighting with the 17 of Chris Stitz, but Stitz goes way high through 1 and 2. He's going to lose a couple of positions in that 17 machine as he's really struggling through the center of the corner. So the 17 falling back a couple of positions as Tony Brent trying to close in on this 1 machine of Will Bustler. That's going to be the battle for the final stage point as our Daytona winner tries to close in on Will Bustler.
Tony Brent doing a great job for himself, but also with 2 laps to go, just a handful of corners left before the stage is over at the end of lap 60. Battle for the lead was starting to heat up. Brian McCann right on the back bumper of Zach Hall as we have 1 more lap before this stage is over. Top 10 drivers getting bonus points as caution flag is out, and it's Chris Stitz, the 17, having issues.
And Stitz, I mean, Sam, he was struggling the last couple of restarts. I've seen him go high through the center of the corners, not only in 1 and 2, but also in 3 and 4. And the 17 finally having some major issues with himself getting spun around.
And with the spin out, as we take a look here, I mean, he got into the outside wall just a couple laps ago, dealing with tightness. Well, it broke loose with how tight it was off the exit. The 17 locks it down and starts to move, probably at the scariest moment for that of Steven Bustler.
Yeah, Bustler was side by side there, and the 17 just inched out a little bit, but thankfully nobody else collected. But I mean, that's the issues you have. You fight tightness and you put too much wheel into it, get a little bit throttle happy on that corner exit, it breaks loose on you, you spin around, and around goes the 17, but thankfully able to stay off the wall, stay off of everybody else. And Sam, a couple drivers staying out, flipping that stage break. Brandon Colley going to be in the lead now.
Hey, if you're caught up in that first initial couple of wrecks, why not get your damage repair, get some tires, and set up for this restart? You're going to have the track position, but you're going to be hurting on tires just slightly here. But this is a massive loss for Zach Hall and for that of Brian McCann. They went from the lead all the way down to 14th position as Zach Hall, winner of the stage. He's got to be happy about that. But how is this 32 machine going to feel on the restart? Let's find out as we get to talk to our stage winner and see how Zach Hall is feeling. 32 machine and Zach Hall. It's Sam and Trevor up the booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Well, stage winner, but now you're stuck in traffic. Man, how are you feeling with this car currently, and how are you feeling about this upcoming restart?
Feeling pretty good. Yeah, the track position's lost, so we'll try to find our way back up there, but luckily starting on the bottom, I think, right now. So 11th, so hopefully that stays the same.
And Zach, what's going to be the key here to getting back up to the front? We've seen some kind of chaos on restarts and drivers having some brake bias issues, it looks like, in the corners. But what's going to be your strategy here to try to get back up toward the front?
I'm going to use a little bit of patience, but also a little bit of aggression. You got to be patiently aggressive, I think, right here, and not make too many dumb mistakes that could ruin your night. So I'm going to try to roll the bottom, stick to the curb, kind of what I've been doing all night. If we got to go up top and roll around these guys, we're going to try it. So it's going to be pretty much anything on the table. Just got to make sure not to ruin my night here trying to come through.
I mean, Zach, last question for you before we send you back. But were you surprised on your teammate Christopher Norris and also seeing Brandon Colley, their contact, battling for the lead?
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, I was very surprised. I can't wait to go back and see it because from where I was sitting, it was kind of hard to tell what was going on. But you can never know with these things. They're racing hard for the lead up front, and that kind of opened the door up for me. So I guess thank you to them for making it easy.
Well, Zach, we hope for the best for you. Good luck, and try to survive through the chaos.
Thanks, guys.
Well, that's going to be the Freaky Fast Racing driver, Zach Hull. Also going to be our stage winner here tonight, as there will be no more stage racing left tonight. It's about who's going to win the Next Level Racing 200. If you're just joining us, yes, that number is correct. We've had 7 cautions this evening. A lot of them started off in the first 20 laps, but it's time to see how the drivers can attack from here on out. Can we get some green flag racing? Let's find out, as it's Brandon Colley, Joshua Altis, become involved in the first couple of accidents here today. Well, now they're the leaders as the major takeoff for the 99 down into turn number 1 for the Next Level Racing 200.
Yeah, Colley with a great launch. Now it's going to be Ryan Lynch. Joshua Altis battling for second and third, and Lynch going to move his way up into second place. Almost clear of the 94, but that of Altis is going to drive hard into 3 and 4, try to hang on the outside, but not going to be able to, as he's going to have to give up that second place position. Jacob Grant going to fall in line into 4th, and it's going to be the 5 of John Dart battling with the 6th, or the 6 of Jonathan Burton. They're going to be side by side off of turn number 2.
3 wide, 4 wide, spun around our Daytona winner, Tony Brent, as he gets tapped off the exit of the corner, as there was a lot of beating and banging of drivers just getting stacked up on top of one another through 1 and 2. It was initially the 7 of Cedric Hunter who broke sideways, and everyone else reacting to get around the 7 machine. And ultimately, it was the 28 who gets spun around, bringing out another caution.
It just happened. You get stacked up like that and nowhere to go, and you kind of get to beating and banging on one another. And Tony Brent, unfortunately, the driver that comes out worst for wearing all of that, as he gets spun all the way around. You can see it right there off the end there. He gets hit by, I believe that was the 12 machine of Trey Jackson that delivers the final blow to the 28.
As everyone's just trying to play nice, getting centered back up and pointing in the right direction, as another caution flag out in the air, and just aggressive moves. And this is what we're going to be seeing a lot of, because we had over 10 drivers out there on older rubber, and a lot of them dealing with damage. They're going to start to fall back, and as well, the drivers that were once in the clean air or moving as fast as they could, they're dealing with a lot more of a slower pace, have to be patient, and patience was not shown in that incident, as everyone's just piling in. And going to see a lot more Rubbins racing, I would say, Trevor, as this race progresses forward.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more of that, especially with these guys that are further on down in the field that have been up front all night long. They're going to be aggressive trying to get back up there, and it's going to be interesting to see how these guys up front, like Brandon Colley, Joshua Altis, and John Dart, how they can hold off on these tires that they have. I mean, you think about it, it's about almost a 10-lap difference in tires, in some cases almost 20. But I mean, how many of those have actually been under green, Sam?
That's the big thing. I think majority of them, for those on that major tire difference, maybe there's a true 10 to 15 laps green flag racing on those older tires, but that's still pretty minimal when you think about short track racing. Usually it's a good 20 laps into a run, maybe even 40 laps into a run, and you have that big of a difference on tires. That's when you could see a big swing of, I've got fresher rubber, I'm going to be way faster than you, watch out as I climb through the field. This run might just be on true raw speed. Who is the fastest drivers out here? And right now, our pole sitter, Christopher Norris, who himself and the driver leading this race, Brandon Colley, got caught up with one another, wrecking for the lead earlier on in this race. In different spots, Colley's got to be feeling a lot more comfortable leading this race, knowing he's got such a buffer before he has to deal with Zach Hull and others that came into pit road 9 laps ago.
Yeah, clean air, I think, is going to be king for Brandon Colley. If he can get another great launch, get clear and let those guys battle behind him. Should be able to pull away a little bit and feel pretty good about it. Christopher Norris, I mean, he's got to feel pretty decent though, Sam. I mean, after being spun around with the damage that he had to work his way back up inside the top 10, but now he's going to be dealing with, you know, a 10-lap tire difference to that of the guys around him. So he's going to have to try to hold off Zach Hall and everybody behind him and see how well the 38 can do doing that.
It's going to be difficult. But let's find out how well they can hold off the field, or are they going to be able to just have enough engine power underneath them and grip to keep and hold on in their positioning. Thank you to everyone that's watching here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting and commenting on all your thoughts on tonight's race. We really do appreciate it as the drivers are ready to get back to green flag racing. Freddie Colley, Ryan Lynch into the restart zone, and here we go down into turn number 1. A little bit of shuffling deeper in the field, but up front they're stacked up and ready to attack off the exit at turn 2.
Yeah, Lynch, I think, tried to time that, got a little bit out in front of Colley and had to check up a little bit. That's going to cost him a spot to the 94 of Altus and possibly a spot to the 19 of Jacob Grant, as that's going to be the battle out of turn number 4, the battle for third place between those two, and Lynch doing everything he can to hold off this 19, the 5 of John Dart clear of the field behind him. But Christopher Norris able to drop down in front of the 32 of Zach Hall, the 6 of Jonathan Burt falling back through the field. As we're on board here with Norris as he tries to look for a way, but there goes Lynch a little bit sideways in the middle of the corner.
Lynch all gonna slide. John Dart gets a little too aggressive, and it allows Christopher Norris and Zach Hall to try to set up for a 2-for-1 pass. As they go through turns 1 and 2, major slip up, and also following behind these drivers gonna be the 6 of Jonathan Burt, as they're 2 wide, almost 3 wide further on back. Sam Siegel and Brian L. Wilson have been the real valve of who can move forward and who can't, as seeing the 55 and the 9 machine struggling with the damage that they've been put onto these vehicles, as well as struggling with the grip underneath them.
Yeah, really struggling as they continue to fall back. You see it right there, and there's the 8 of Brian McCann, last week's winner, just caught behind the 55 of Sam Siegel on that top line. Nowhere to go for the 8 machine. He continues to lose positions. Now finally going to be able to get behind the 24 of Cameron Sarton, get by that 55 machine, but a ton of track position losses. Another caution's out.
And it's Steven Bustler and Will Bustler having issues, as the 00 on screen 21 on our ticker having a major slip up after trying to avoid Will Bustler, who was having an adventure through turns 3 and 4 as he went over the curb and just was not able to get pointed in the right direction. We initially look here. This is what starts things off. It's going to be the 00 that gets spun around, but locks up the rear end, having some fun over the curb, hits the inside pit wall, hits the pit wall again, and then a small tap by Jay Becker to the 00 sends Steven Bustler around.
Yeah, I think for Will Bustler, just got into 3 and 4 a little bit hot, jumped on the brakes to not run over the car in front of him. Then once you're up on the curb, I mean, it just really upsets the car, and you saw it right there as he was bouncing all over the curb, spinning out, and then unfortunately for Steven Bustler, just kind of got a little friendly tap from behind by Jay Beckard, spins him around, and brings out our, I believe, 9th caution of the night, Sam.
Quite a few cautions have ballooned out here this evening. Stage racing is done. We're closing in on the halfway, but for us here on the Freaky Fast Broadcasting booth, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, it's going to be more great racing action from the Full Set Racing Series. This is race number 10 for the Next Level Racing 200 at Martinsville. Thank you for joining with us. Again, we will be back right after this for more Paperclip Racing.
they're 5 wide behind for 5th.
Oh my, the 5 wide here, this ain't gonna work. They make it last, bumping and banging to the end. They're beating banging for the lead. Sora still with the shot here, coming off a 4. That's it.
It's
Bottom line, here it comes.
Oh,
I know
no,
Carter
it's
gets
fine.
wrecked. It's gonna be that Nick Crumford. The 74 gets through somehow, and they just completely demolish one another. Trinity diving down low, drifting up, trying to be the stealer. Here he comes, Cedric Hunter. He does it. He steals it.
But he somehow drove it into the corner to wreck
Oh,
it.
they wrecked! They wrecked each other! The top 2 bounced into one another, just too much of side drifting off of, and they gotta be careful. Oh no, and the 4 demolishes into 28. Welcome back, and yes, that number did change. We're up to number 10 on the cautions here at Martinsville. You're watching the Full Send Racing series as a parking lot was formed for a quick second as the drivers tried to launch. We were hoping to be back when they were exiting off of turn 2 being green. Instead, we are back under pacing once again as the field was trying to take off on a restart. Found themselves in a big wreck as they couldn't enter turn 1. And here's what brought out our 10th caution of the day. Aggressive restart for drivers. Again, those are on old tires trying to take off. A lot of wheel spin. Collects the field. Bang, bang all around as the drivers try to slow down. It's just a pileup of drivers trying to get through, as might need a couple of shots on what exactly went down, because a very scary situation, Trevor, that you don't expect to see very often, but it's happened now 3 times on these restarts of drivers having bad wheel spin when they're trying to get rolling here on the start.
Yeah, I think it was Brandon Pierce kind of the back of, I believe, the 6 on the restart as they all kind of checked up, and then Ryan Lynch nowhere to go as he gets run over from behind by the 11. Cameron Sarton gets by, Brian Wilson involved in that, and I mean, it just turns into a parking lot after that. Trey Jackson involved, the 8 of Brian McCann involved. I believe the 10 of Jay Becker also involved. Will Bustler in the 1. You see the 4 of David McConnell. Sam, I think it'd actually be easier to tell you who wasn't involved in that wreck.
I believe that was majority of everyone instead of our top 8 that were not involved with that incident. Well, kind of a shocking wreck to be seen. But another incident that allows drivers to try to change up their strategy, because most of the field up front have been on 30-plus old tires, some on 25. Now, that's just based on how many laps they've been on those tires. Again, these cautions have been coming out so quickly, it's hard to say when they really have used these tires and how much green flag racing has been set on these tires. But a few able to come into pit road, going to get service done, either get damage repair or going to be able to get some fresh rubber, as they had a total of 4 to work with in pit road. It's just hard to utilize those tires when there is no green flag racing to utilize.
Yeah, I mean, it's really going to be hard for that of Zach Hall. I'm trying to look further on down. Cedric Hunter, Dalton Alexander, and those guys who pit at our stage break to really have an advantage over everybody in front of them who have stayed out with these cautions keep coming out. I mean, you're heat cycling the tires, and eventually with all that heat cycle, it's basically going to even out those tires. So who knows what's going to happen here, same as we line up for another attempt at a restart.
We'll try. As the last 2 seasons, season 4 and season 3, most cautions that they had for those races, 8 apiece. Well, we'll see if we can go over the line of how many they've ever had at Martinsville, as we're back to green flag racing. It's Brandon Colley, Joshua Altis, as well as Jacob Grant, going to be side by side for 2nd place, as Zach Hall, he is marching his way forward, and his toughest competition is still mired all the way back in 15th for Brian McCann.
Yeah, McCann just stuck back in traffic, was involved in that last restart incident. Now Zach Hall clear of the 94 of Joshua Altis. Now just has Jacob Grant, Brandon Colley in front of him. That of the 38, Christopher Norris, where Bolstead are able to fall in line behind the 32 machines. And Norris with a great recovery run after he and Colley made contact with one another. So Norris up to 4th. Jonathan Burt up to 5th. Cedric Hunter trying to get through those. He gets by the 94 of Joshua Altis, who finally finds a way in line in front of the 15 and the 5 of Ken Campbell and John Dart.
Still get these stacked side by side of John Dart, Ken Campbell, as they're trying to make their way forward. As the 15, the 5 continue to fall back on some of the oldest tires of anyone out there on track. Starting to feel maybe that tire difference, but also stuck on the conveyor belt of being stuck on the outside lane. You just continue to fall back, and it's tough to get any type of rebound. Also stuck on the outside lane is going to be William Duff, but they'll get a reset as they're wrecking out of the exit of turn number 4.
rack them up, try it all over again. Looks like, I believe that's the 27, I believe, Sam, spun around there of
Well,
Peter Dillon.
It was a stack up. I believe that Steven Bustler got himself pushed around, which then made the 27 have to jam on his brakes, and then he got ran over by Alex Jones and spun around the 27. So a rough outing for a few. As we take a look here at drivers trying to make their way forward, it's going to be right in front of this 45 machine. We're going to be seeing drivers stacking up and then just pile driving into the 27. Alex Jones, no regard. And also Trey Jackson getting a slight clip because of the aftermath.
Yeah, Alex Jones not reacting in time there to stay off the 21 of Steven Bustler, runs him over, and 3 and 4 brings out our 11th caution of the night. And Sam, I think under the commercial break you were talking about 16 cautions was the record.
Yeah, I was trying to go through the record books of where the most cautions were. I thought it was just here at Martinsville, where the highest they've ever had was season 2 at 14. As I kept on diving through the record books of what race was the most, it was season 3, 16 cautions at IRP. So that's kind of the history books on who can crush that record, which I will say for a lot of leagues, breaking the most cautions in a race seems to be kind of the sense for all leagues, certainly for this season and span that we've been covering here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting.
Yeah, it kind of seems to be the trend, and I'm going to say commentator's curse is on you this week. Typically, it's been on me this season, but I'm going to blame this one on you here tonight. Is here at Martinsville. I mean, we know coming to Martinsville, we're due for a handful of cautions, but tonight, I mean, it must be something in the Virginia air tonight that's been breeding all these cautions.
Maybe, but honestly, you caught me off guard with that one. Took a sip. I was not expecting to be thrown under the bus. Usually, I'm the one throwing you under the bus. So I guess it's clean, fair payback. I will take this one, as I thought maybe we were gonna just stick around 8 cautions, maybe spread them out, as the series has been able to get some green flag racing in the past. It just seems like tonight, maybe there's a full moon somewhere, because it is not going well this evening. The restarts have been tough for the series, a lot of bad checkups, but as well, just over-aggressive racing on trying to get by slower drivers, which is a known factor to bring out a lot of yellows, as we've had 11 here before we've even crossed the halfway marker, but we're expecting to do so on this next restart.
Yeah, expecting to get to that halfway point. The question's really that I'm interested to find out here. What's going to happen with Brandon Cawley, Jonathan Burt, John Dart, William Duff, Christopher Norris, all these guys on the kind of this off strategy? Do they have enough fuel to make it to the end? Do they need to make another pit stop? And if they do, when do you make it? Because I think for a lot of these guys, you don't want to be at the back of the field where all the carnage and chaos is. So what's going to be your plan? And Brandon Cawley, speaking of, going to take the outside line on this restart, not wanting to give Zach Hall an advantage.
I mean, I think that's a great call. Try to hold back Zach Hall. The only issue is if Jacob Grant can time this restart, which he has been struggling to time it properly. But if he's able to, that can put Brandon Cawley in a tough spot as pace car pulls off. Let's see what this restart is going to look like for the Next Level Racing 200. You're watching the Full Set Racing Series, race number 10 off the exit of turn 4 into the restart zone. The 99 Barbie machine has the power, and we're gone as Christopher Norris is going to be stacked side by side and already taking off. Grant not able to go at all.
Now a little bit of wheel spin there from Grant. That's going to check up Zach Hall. Cedric Hunter on the same strategy as Zach Hall, going to try to get to his outside, but up front, Christopher Norris now up to second. He got taken out by the 99 of Brandon Cawley early on in this race. Will there be some revenge from the 38? Jacob Grant able to hold on currently for third position. Cedric Hunter going to have to fall back in behind the 32 of Zach Hall. Behind them, Cameron Sarton trying to go around the outside of John Dart, the two-time champ, again methodically working his way up through the field.
But Cameron Sarton, got to give kudos to that 24 machine on the fact that he's moved up to 6th place. He has been the biggest mover for majority of the night. Now taking that crown is John Dart and Burt, who both were on the opposite, changing up their pitch strategies before the stage break was over, so able to jump and take a net gain. But currently, based on the raw speed, got to give kudos to that 24 machine. As you can see, Ken Campbell and that of Brandon Pierce side by side fighting for the 9th place position.
Trying to fight for that 9th place position. It looks like Brandon Pierce going to get that position cleared. Here comes the 8 of Brian McCann trying to, again, just work his way up through the field. He's been stuck back here, Sam, from about 10th on back on these last couple of restarts. Hasn't really had any chance to go anywhere, and a caution's out again.
Caution flag is out. And just seems like it's the similar drivers always caught up in it. It has been a rough night for the fill-in driver of Ross Tatum, that being Steven Bustler. Trey Jackson also involved. And it's one of those races where, Martinsville, when you have a bad night, it just always seems the snowball get worse and worse. And that's what's going to happen for that of the 21 and the 12, as Curtis Vlečka just got a nice view in his front mirror of all the action between those two drivers.
It looks like some contact there with Trey Jackson, the the 21 there of Steven Bustler. I believe I saw the 9 of Brian Wilson. And unfortunately for Curtis Vlečka in the 44, I think because he stopped on track, not going to get the lucky dog position, not going to get the lucky dog for himself, and that would have only put him 3 laps down, Sam. I mean, he was close to getting back on the lead lap. And also Brandon Colley on pit road.
Brandon Colley coming into pit road, Brian McCann making a pit stop, as well as Tony Brent and others. Now, this pit stop could be crucial, but it is such a hurt type of a spot to be when you give up the lead position, expecting more drivers to follow in suit, and they just don't follow you.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good call from those two, especially, Brandon Colley, Brian McCann, to come down pit road. But I mean, why not try it? You're betting on everybody else is going to have to come down pit road at some point, but you're going to be back there saying where all the carnage has been. I mean, do you really feel safe back there?
I wouldn't feel safe back there. It honestly doesn't look like it's going to be a safe place to be at all. But for tonight's race, drivers that have called it a night officially going to be Steven Bustler in the 00 that was on screen, but the 21 on our ticker, who's been struggling all night long. It looks like after that last contact, too much damage, didn't want to get it repaired, and is calling it a night for himself. Other drivers that have been in pit road trying to get repairs done. Dave McConnell in the 4 machine, who was caught up in our gridlock wreck when we were under commercial break. The 4 is also still in pit road, over 20 laps down, trying to get some of those laps back, potentially, if able to get back on track and try to minimize the damage being lost. As we're across the halfway marker, you got to see that on our screen about that of 4 laps ago. From Race Control, huge shout out to Steve Benjamin, who's running Race Control tonight and has been running Race Control on Tuesdays and Wednesday nights on Freaky Fast Broadcasting for both leagues that we cover, being the Full Send Racing Series on Tuesdays that you're watching currently, and the WSSR Cup Series on Wednesday nights. And Trevor, having a Race Control and an eye above watching some of the carnage that's going on, it's got to be a little bit of a good sense knowing, hey, at least I know I can get my black flags clear. If the mess gets too ugly, I know someone else could see what's going on and kind of clear any bad messes that are going on track.
It makes it really easy for the admin out there to not have to worry about hitting extra buttons as they're trying to, maybe navigate a wreck or get lined back up, especially with these cautions on these restarts. It makes it, I'm sure Steve has his hands full trying to get black flags cleared and everything, but doing a great job of it here tonight and really putting him to work here tonight here at Martinsville.
Certainly is. The field is stacked up, ready to go. Pace car into pit road. Christopher Norris back to the lead spot, the pole sitter. How is this restart going to go for himself as the green flag is back out in the air? Cedric Hunter is going to be stopped by the 19 machine of Jacob Grant. Grant, once again, struggling on these restarts. Well seen. Christopher Norris, Zach Hall, Cedric Hunter marching their way forward, as well as the 2-time champ of Cameron Sarn on the inside.
Yeah, again, Cedric Hunter being aggressive from that outside line, able to get down to the bottom, but caution's out. His cars scatter through 3 and 4.
As drivers scatter around, a lot of apologies being voiced over the radio, but not a lot of drivers spun around, actually. We're scattered, trying to avoid, I believe it was the 10 of Jake Beckert, who found himself being pushed and tossed into turn number 3.
I'm not quite sure what happened to Becker, but looks like a couple more cars deciding to peel down pit road. Looks like Jacob Grant and John Dart going to come down pit road for what could potentially be maybe their final pit stop of the night, depending on how this race plays out. And again, more drivers from the front, they're going to get shuffled to the back and be in that danger zone. And going to see how that works out for them, Sam. But Christopher Norris had a great launch. Cedric Hunter as well. Cameron Sarton. I think those two, Cedric Hunter, Cameron Sarton, they could be kind of a thorn in the side of Zach Hall. If they can get clear here of Christopher Norris, those 3 might be able to battle this one out.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for those drivers up front, such as Christopher Norris and Zach Hall and Cedric Hunter, for these front runners, they're in a tricky spot because the longer that they stay out, the more drivers behind them are going to come into pit road. They've already given up that advantage of, you know, having a large group come to pit road and maybe try to swamp on a tire advantage on those that pitted on our previous caution. And for Brian McCann, he is leading those that already pitted before. Nick Holland is another driver that actually pitted the caution before our last one. So currently the 13, if we see all of our front 10 coming to pit road, the 13 actually would be in a lead position to watch out for.
I mean, this could be a similar situation to what we saw at the stage break, where you're going to have drivers, 10 or so drivers that kind of flop the track position on our guys that stay out here. And it could be, relatively similar to what we saw with Zach Hall having to restart back in like the 10th or 11th position, just based off how the strategy is going to work out.
And if they pit now, I mean, they don't have that tire advantage that Zach Hall and others had at that stage break where it was like a 20, 30 lap advantage that they were working with. Instead, only be maybe a 5, 6, maybe a 15 lap advantage, and you'd be even further back dealing with more traffic. So this is a tough pill to swallow for those drivers that are inside of our top 10 because, again, the more that they stay out, the more track position they're going to have to work through to try to get all this track time back. I think the better off thing might be just stay out until maybe 40 laps to go. Then you make that final pit stop of the night. But again, it's a risky call because you never know if you're going to have enough green flag laps to make those passes for later on in this race. As we wait for the 1 to go marker here tonight. Again, thank you for joining with us on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. If you're enjoying the show, I know it has been a lot of green flag racing here at Martinsville, but expecting a lot more green flag action the next couple of nights. Tomorrow night, talked about the WSSR and the fact that we'll have Steve Benjamin up at the booth running race control. He's also going to have a great race to watch tomorrow night, and so can you. Gen 4s running at Talladega, the first race of the playoffs for the WSSR, and then as well, going to be seeing the 08 Atlanta Thursday night, Stars and Stripes. Those drivers know how to put on a great show as well. Don't want to miss out. See all of the racing action here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting as we are back to green flag action. Christopher Norris, Zach Hall, Cedric Hunter, hard braking down into turn number 1.
Yeah, Cedric Hunter gave a little bit of a shot to the 38, trying to get him to go a little bit quicker through 1 and 2, trying to get side by side with Zach Hall. But Zach Hall talked about being patiently aggressive, going to try to use that outside line to rotate through the corner and roll past the 38 here of Christopher Norris. They're going to be battling for the lead. Zach Hall doing everything he can.
Wreck though, center of the front stretch. It's Nick Holland who had the advantage. Instead, it's a pileup of drivers just stacking in, not able to slow down. And what goes from bad to worse for the 13.
Unfortunate there from Nick Holland. Hard contact, I believe that's the 28. Our Daytona winner, Tony Brent, involved as well, as he's missing the front bumper and the rear bumper off that 28 machine as he made hard contact with Nick Holland. And in all that chaos, Zach Hall able to get the lead before the caution came out as we take a look and see what happened to Nick Holland.
Nick Holland going to be forced to go 40 wide and just gets clipped by William Duff. And then the 13 backs his way to a wall of drivers, nowhere to go. And that's a tough pill because all that contact then going to make the 13 start crab-legging his way down into turn number 1, and the vehicle is so broke, he called it a night already.
Oh, you see right there, the right front is just locked up on Nick Holland. Tried to get it to turn, bounced it off the outside wall, shoots it down to the inside wall, and I think at that point Nick's just doing some frustrated donuts there, and you see the field trying to come by and just toes it back to pit lane, going to call it a night for himself.
That's dangerous. I mean, I understand doing frustrated donuts, but you can only do that for so long. Like you saw, the leaders caught up so quickly. Christopher Norris had to make an evasive move to just stop to make sure they didn't run into the 13, who again calls it a night. And maybe a little bit of commentator's curse on the fact that maybe I thought he was going to be the best seat to watch out for if we saw our leaders coming to pit road. Not going to be the case on this go around, as some drivers hitting pit road. Chris Stitz and a few others now making our lead group that still needs to come to pit road, or may not come to pit road, being our top 8 that are in the tricky spot of when do we come into pit road or do we continue to stay out?
Yeah, they're in a tough spot. Travis Dart, the first of our drivers who have made a second pit stop, he pitted on lap 93. He's going to start, I believe, in the 9th position. Brian McCann, who came in on lap 102 with Brandon Colley, he's going to be in 11th. Colley in 14th position. Of those guys who have already made their second pit stop, Sam Siegel behind Brandon Colley. Will Bustler already made a pit stop. Alex Jones pitted on lap 85, so he's also another one of those drivers who could potentially make it to the end with the 19 of Jacob Grant, Chris Melton, Brian Wilson, and then, of course, all the guys who just pit on this last caution as well. I mean, it's just such an interesting call if you're Zach Hall, especially Christopher Norris, who still hasn't pit Sam since lap 51 in this race. I mean, he's going to have to make a pit stop pretty soon, but for that 38 machine, you don't want to give up all this track position that he's worked so hard to get back.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a rough night on trying to make these decisions, but that's kind of what these caution-filled races turn into, is how do you want to set up for these incidences? Do you want to go with the, there's some ideas of, do we want to be the first comers into pit road to make sure we got the track position for when the full cycle goes through, or do you stay out and hope for the race to stay green, which it has not done so yet here tonight, as we're under our 14th caution. This ties the most cautions ever thrown at a Martinsville race. The league record of most cautions, again, IRP 16 back in season 3. It's been a couple of seasons since we had this type of a caution-filled race, but sometimes you find the rough patches at Martinsville, Bristol. The short track's always a tough track to handle at times when the track position just becomes desperate, which I got a feeling the desperation only is going to ramp up more and more as each caution flag waves here tonight. It's the pace cars into pit road. Let's have another restart. Next Level Racing 200. Oh, they're getting their money's worth and getting that out there as we are back to green flag action. Zach Hall, Christopher Norris, as the 32 gets a fabulous launch for himself.
Got a great start. Cameron Sarton didn't get the best of restarts behind our race leader, but going to have a really good opportunity here to go attack the 38 of Christopher Norris down the back straightaway, side by side for second position. Sarton going to try to roll that outside just like Zach Hall did, get a little bit better exit, but Norris fighting back on that inside line, trying to hold off the 24. The 7 is Cedric Hunter going to try to go up and follow this 24 machine. Brandon Pearson, the 39, also lurking right there behind the 7. Norris right now able to hold off Cameron Sarton, but Sarton again fighting back on the outside.
Sarton recognizing, hey, as long as I've got a nose ahead, it looks like comes out, that gives me that track position. But it looks like the fight might be over as Christopher Norris finally solidifies the pass for second. Cedric Hunter trying to poke the nose, get underneath the Mickey Mouse machine, and it looks like the 7 going to be side by side. Get to see the cartoon characters battling it back and forth. Hello Kitty, first Mickey Mouse through 3 and 4.
Through 3 and 4 still side by side, a little bit of an advantage to the 7 of Cedric Hunter as he pulls ahead down the front straightaway. Going to dive it here into 1 and 2, see if he can get clear of this 24, but a caution's out.
Caution is out, and it looks like the cat will take the advantage over the mouse as Christopher Melton will be the driver that spins it around, bringing out our 15th caution of the day.
Sam, one more. We tie the record. You said it at the break. It's 16 cautions, and it's looking very possible here tonight. Now the question is going to be, if you're Christopher Norris, if you're Zach Hall, Cameron Sarton, Brandon Pearson, these guys, do you take this opportunity to come down pit road?
I mean, if they've got an eye in the sky, feeding them information, Ryan McCann has only moved up to 8th place with all these cautions that have popped out. I still think you wait until 50, maybe that of 40 laps to go, but Cameron Sarton into pit road, not waiting is the 24. And the reason why I say, hey, wait, see where it's going to be at, because then you have a lot more tire wear to work with. You're forcing the other drivers to be with older tires, and maybe around that 50 to 150 laps into the race, 160 laps into the race, maybe you'll get a little bit more drivers being takers to come to pit road.
Yeah, I think waiting waiting a little bit longer is the play, but Cameron Sarton deciding to go ahead and get this pit stop over with, and it's going to shuffle him to the back of the field. But I mean, we've seen him work his way from the back to the front pretty much all night long, so I expect to see that 24 car back up to the front, but again, going to give up a lot of track position and put himself in the eye of the storm.
How do you want to recover from battling for 3rd to now all the way back in 24th? That's just such a huge loss on positions and not a lot of gain on tire rubber compared to the rest of the field. As Zach Hall, Christopher Norris, Cedric Hunter are going to be your front runners. Wait for the 1 to go marker, and for us, it gives us time to shout out the rest of the amazing sponsors here for the Full Send Racing Series. We talked about ButtKicker, we talked about Next Level Racing. Well, let's talk about the button box that can assist you as a race admin or as a driver yourself. Go over to the Etsy for GurSim Studios to go check out the button boxes that can assist you in your racing today. If you're trying to, save fuel with a push of a button by turning off your engine and turning it back on, or if you're a race admin and you need to throw quick yellow or clear black flags, boom, bang, you've got the button box to allow you to do all the actions in a quick manner. Go check out Gersim Studios on Instagram and Facebook to see what their wide range of selection looks like in button boxes. And as well, you've seen them on William Duff's machine and a couple of others. It's the On the Throttle podcast. On the Throttle podcast is a podcast that talks about the weekly racing that goes on in real life racing action, from NASCAR to other big wide range racing sports. Hey, go check out episode 71 today on Spotify or any other podcast channels that you like to listen to, or check out the Instagram for On the Throttle podcast today. Thank you so much to the amazing sponsors for the Full Send Racing series. Trevor, again, that's going to be the talking point for, I think, for most of the race. When do you come into pit road, but also track position? But what a recovery run for Christopher Norris, as well for all the other drivers that had to make the slow march through traffic. I think everyone's done it so far to get to where they are currently.
Yeah, I mean, the pit strategy is going to be the question of what these drivers up front do. And then the other question is, how well is Brian McCann, Brandon Cawley, Cameron Sarton, how well are they going to be able to get through this traffic? And how many more cautions are we going to see here tonight as we get ready for this restart?
Pace car into pit road. Zach Hall, Christopher Norris going to be your front two. As 128 laps will now be in the books. Let's start 129 as Zach Hall, what a launch for himself. Christopher Norris to have the easiest move on the inside to keep second, as Doug Pierce, Cedric Hunter battle side by side for third place.
Yeah, Doug Pierce, Cedric Hunter are going to battle that out for third place, and Cedric just trying to do everything he can to get clear of this 39 and then go attack the 38 to see if he can run down Zach Hall. But right now, that battle for third still side by side down the front straightaways. Cedric Hunter going to drive it in a little bit deeper than 39 of Brandon Pierce. Going to clear the 39 now and try to go attack Christopher Norris. The 15 of Ken Campbell able to get clear of the 11 of Dalton Alexander, who's trying to hold off Brian McCain, who's on the freshest tires, finally able to get clear and get some air for himself as he got past the 26 of Travis Dart.
For Brian McCann, it has just been a slow march. It's just a position on each restart, and now only up to 7th. Still plenty of racing with 70 laps to go here tonight. Another driver to watch out for, Brandon Cawley, who gave up running up front for the lead, has now moved back up to 10th. The 99 Army machine is on the charge, trying to catch up to the battling that you see here between Ken Campbell and as well going to be Dalton Alexander and Brian McCann.
Yeah, trying to catch up. He's got to get past Josh Waltis, Travis Dart in front of him to get to the rear bumper of the 8 of Brian McCann. Able to get past Will Bustler, Philip Chavez, Jacob Grant, and now it sets his sights on the 94 of Josh Waltis, closing in out of turn number 4, trying to set up this pass on this 94 machine, who's had a pretty good recovery run for himself as well. Was involved in our first 2 cautions of the night. You see a little bit of rear end damage on the 94 as Brandon Cawley's caught up to him.
As he's trying to figure out how to get by the 94 machine. Patience is going to be the key here. That patience aggression that we heard from Zach when we pulled him up in the booth after winning the stage. I think a lot of drivers, that patience left meter might be dipping a little bit low, and the aggression bouncing up a little bit higher, as our top going to be that of 12 drivers are in line with one another. It's going to be a lot of side-by-side racing back in 13 between Jay Becker and Philip Chavez. They continue to put some aggression on as another pass by Brian McCann up to 6th.
McCann working his way through these older tires pretty quickly, trying to get as many spots as he can. And as the 101 of Philip Chavez locks the brakes, he gets spun around, takes the 10 of Jay Becker, the 17 of Stitz as well. Oh, and the 6 piles into the back of the 17 in turn number 3.
As that caution comes out, more drivers. We're hoping not to be involved in that one. Talked about, though, the aggressive racing between Jay Beckard and Philip Chavez. I think for Philip, just a little bit too aggressive. And that aggression got himself in trouble. Same for the 10, who got some massive collisions for themselves. We take a look at what brought out our most recent yellow. You see the 10, the 101, up onto the curbing. Slides for both of them. Little simultaneous, but just double whammy for Jay Beckard. And as well for Philip Chavez, a little bit less of a tap for the 10, as we got to see that front bumper getting launched for himself.
Yeah, somebody's front bumper is just breakdancing through there 3 and 4. I believe it might have been the 6. The 6's front bumper of Jonathan Burt, as I believe he got help from behind from the 3 of Ryan Lynch into the back of the 17 of Chris Stitz. But again, just Philip Chavez trying to go for a crossover move into 3 and 4, locked the brakes up, got spun around, clipped the 10 of Jay Becker, and set off a chain reaction there.
Yeah, I guess that front bumper just forgot what month it is. We are in September, not October just yet. Let's get the ghosts out of here as the drivers are preparing. We're now in history books. We have tied the most cautions in the Full Send Racing Series. And, I mean, Trevor, that wreck, massive one for the drivers that were involved. Jay Beckard, Ryan Lynch, getting themselves with required damage. Dave McConnell, who's typed in chat saying that he's done for the night, just pulling for the Texas Speed Racing team that's still out there on track. But for how long? It's a lot of them have been dealing with heavy damage, being caught up late in these incidences.
Caught up in a couple of cautions ago in a wreck, I believe, and I believe that 17 of Chris Stitch just called it a night for himself. I'm sorry, David McConnell was involved in an earlier wreck. I was thinking of Tony Brent in the 28 was involved in a wreck a couple of cautions ago, but Chris Stitz calling it a night for himself. He's had enough. That car's gonna, I'm pretty sure, go in pieces in the hauler for the 17s team here tonight.
Yeah, that is one that you rip apart. You never look back to. It has been a rough night. The highest point you say was qualified 6th, and then constantly was moving backwards and never was able to recover, was Chris Stitz. And, you know, looking at how his season's been going for that machine, came into the night 14th in points, just needed a solid day. It's going to be one of those races you just throw away and set up for next week, which next week, I know one driver that's excited. That's the driver leading the race here tonight, Zach Hall. He is feeling very confident and comfortable. And the last time that he ran at Indianapolis Motor Speedway at the Oval Course, he utterly dominated here in the Full Send Racing Series. And he feels like that same confidence is still lingering to today on the dominance that he's expecting to show next week at Indy and then Phoenix, which was the finale race last season. Who can run well there? Talladega going to be after Phoenix. Those are our next 3 races on the schedule here for the Full Send Racing Series.
Yeah, I think you look to next week in Indianapolis. I'm sure Zach Hall is pretty much the only one in the field looking forward to that one, especially these guys that were here in Season 3 that remember that race. But we'll wait and see when we get there. And then Phoenix, the flat track, and then we go super speedway racing after that. I mean, it's a great mix of these tracks coming up for these drivers as we get ready for another restart.
As Zach Hall, Christopher Norris, Brandon Pierce going to be your top 3. Cedric Hunter going to be also there in 4th. As green flag is back in the air, 32, great launch. Christopher Norris trying to defend both lanes through that 38 machine. And great defensive work as Christopher Norris will solidify himself into 2nd. The rest of the field going to be stacked 2 by 2, moving through. As Zach Hall feels comfortable and confident, trying to pull away. But Cedric Hunter, they need some help and some more spacing. Needs Christopher Norris to maybe pull away just a little bit to have that spacing to take 3rd position.
Yeah, still trying to fight with the 39 of Brandon Pearson. I got to give a huge shout out to Christopher Norris. I mean, this man has been out there for almost 100 laps on this set of tires and doing a great job holding on to 2nd position as Cedric Hunter.
Oh no! Collie spun around 99 off the exit at turn 3. And over the radio, immediate apology from Joshua Altus. And that will bring out our 17th caution of the day. Aggression. The 99 was trying to make his way forward, had fresh rubber, and instead becomes an innocent victim. Gets spun around, and he'll have to fight through the field once again.
Yeah, I went back and looked at it. It looked like maybe another instance of rear brake bias for the 94 of Altus. Got him sideways, got up into the 99 of Brandon Colley. And if you're Brandon Colley, Sam, do you come down and take another set of tires here? I mean, you're already at the back of the field. Why not come in, get another set of 4 fresh tires and see what you can do here?
Absolutely, you're taking a set of tires. Also joining with the 99, Cameron Sarton, Trey Jackson, John Dart, Sam Siegel taking a set. And this is, I think, you know, we're talking about it, with 50 to 40 laps to go, might be the time to take tires. Hey, why not lap 55 with 55 laps to go? This is a perfect window of having the tire advantage that you're looking for, that you know that you'll have the grip to make some big moves. Yes, you're going to deal with a lot of chaos and maybe some more big wrecks that are going to pile up, but might as well try to attack with some fresh rubber as, again, this field was given a total of 4 to work with. most of the field has only used one, maybe two sets of tires here tonight, so they still got a couple of sets to work with.
Yeah, I mean, plenty of sets still to work with, especially for our lead pack here in terms of tires. And I'm right there with you. Why not come in, use them now? I mean, you're already at the back of the field, especially if you're Cameron Sarton, Brandon Colley, and get that tire advantage. You try to work your way up through the field. I mean, you're still gonna have to, I think, avoid some chaos in front of you and get lucky there to get some track position. And eventually, I'm gonna guess that Zach Hall, our top five, are going to have to pit at some point here, especially Christopher Norris, Sam, who is coming up on 100 laps.
Yeah, I mean, with the amount of yellows we've had, I believe these drivers can go maybe 120 laps, so maybe close to 130 laps on fuel and tires, which is going to put Norris in that tricky window of maybe being able to make it, but that's still a long way to go if you're this 38 machine. I just, it's so difficult to make the call now. I think having Cameron Sarton, Colley, and others coming to pit road, just showing this is so tough to just work your way through the field, even with the slight tire advantage that they have.
Yeah, I think if you're Christopher Norris, I think you do whatever the leader does. I mean, you come down pit road with them if they pit. If not, I think you stay out and you try to save as much fuel as possible. I mean, he's done such a great job holding on to this second position on these restarts, holding off Brandon Pierce and Cedric Hunter on those tires. So why not continue to stay out and try to see what you can do? I mean, Brian McCann only up to 5th position, Sam. And I mean, he pitted on lap 102. He's been out there for 46 laps on his set of tires and has only been able to get up to 5th.
Yeah, when he started this journey, he was in 11th. I mean, he's only been able to move so far in just 45 laps. With the amount of cautions that have ballooned out to now, let's see how these drivers that just came into pit road, those that are on older tires up front, and hold their positioning as we're back to green flag action. A little bit of deja vu on how they wanted to run that restart, but watch out for Brian McCann. He's on the outside trying to work his way forward as he's up to 5th place.
Yeah, up to 5th place, clears the 15 of Ken Campbell. Almost a little bit of contact between the 15 and the 8. Campbell actually able to get it to the inside of McCann. But McCann going to have a little bit better drive off. But Campbell with the preferred line, is contact behind and cautions out.
Joshua Altis, as well as Philip Chavez and others piling in and just getting new rubber. And it's Vernal. Randy Colley gets into the mix lane.
Bad to good to bad to worse for Brandon Colley. I mean, just unfortunate for the 99 machine. We see the 28 there. Tony Brent involved as well. And what could have been for the 99 machine, Sam, as the night just continues to, like you said, snowball for himself.
As it looked to be around Joshua Altis, Tony Brent, and Jacob Grant, as we're going to be seeing here. Altis extremely wide. He's trying to stay off the wall, but then Jacob Grant comes down, trying to give space to the 19, clips the 28, and then it's a wall of drivers as they all start to pile in.
Yeah, Colley tried to go to the outside line, thinking it was going to be clear, but everybody came back up the track in front of the 99 machine. You see the 28 back down, almost clip. I believe that was the 24 of Cameron Sarton, the 27 of Peter Dillon involved as well. And now do drivers pit? Zach Hall pit, Christopher Norris pits, Cedric Hunter, Ken Campbell come down pit road. Brandon Pierce stays out, though, and he's going to inherit the lead.
Yeah, I mean, a large portion of drivers coming into pit road. I think this is the one thing that's staying out for Zach Hall, Christopher Norris, and others. They wanted to have more drivers come to pit road, so they were minimizing the amount of positions they were going to lose instead of falling directly down to outside of the top 20. Like, exit pit road should be inside of the top 20, and right now Zach Hall, Christopher Norris, 16th and 17th for themselves. I took a little bit of a deeper look at this most recent incident. You know, for Brandon Colley, it's kind of a rarity to see him get put into a bad situation like he was in. Looked like he got some late contact by the two-time champ of Cameron Sarton that kind of shunted the 99 into that accident. That's why we saw him get mixed into it. Other drivers, that being Peter Dillon and also that 20 of Tony Brent, had required damage. Looks like for Brent, he'll be able to get back out on track. But for Dillon, he will be still in pit road with required damage. As another caution in the books, it continues to grow. Hey, and maybe this will be the most caution-filled. This is officially the most caution-filled race for the Full Send Racing series. But if they make it, massive, maybe it will be a record that could be never touched again.
it's the one positive way to look at it. I mean, if we keep having issues, I mean, we'll just make a new record, and hopefully we won't see that record come to be broken. Who knows? But Brandon Pierce going to lead us back to the green flag. Brian McCann's going to start second. Travis Dart, Dalton Alexander, Will Bustler are top 5. Brandon Colley stayed out, even with that little bit of damage. He's going to stay out and be in front of Zach Hall. Cameron Sarton came back down pit road after the contact he made with the 99, so he's going to start behind Ken Campbell back there in 19th. But it's going to be interesting to see Zach Hall, Norris, Cedric Hunter, Ken Campbell, Cameron Sarton trying to work their way back up through this field, and which one of them, Sam, might get involved in some trouble.
Who will stay out of trouble? With less than 50 laps to go, we are officially inside of the final quarter of tonight's race. As the field is stacked up, like you said, I mean, the grouping of drivers that are up front, they went from having the tire advantage over 40 laps on the rest of the field to now Brian McCann is on the back foot. He's got to be careful of all those drivers behind him that are going to have over a 49 lap advantage over themselves. Brandon Pierce out there on track, as well as Dalton Alexander on 93 lap old tires. Let's see how well they can hold on to track position here as we're back into the restart zone for the Next Level Racing 200 at Martinsville. Race number 10 back underway.
Pierce with a good restart for himself, but McCann going to try to hold on to the outside. Here comes Travis Dart in the 26, trying to fight back to the inside of the 8 machine, but Pierce going to block the 8 of McCann. McCann going to still try to roll that high side. The 11 of Dalton Alexander, Will Bustler battling it out behind them. Almost a little bit of contact between those two, but McCann going to be able to clear that 26 machine and hold on to that second place position.
As there is a wall bouncing up between the 45 and the 55 as Pierce outside gets pushed out of the way as the 39 machine just went from first all the way down to 6th in a blink of an eye, as that outside lane is not paying dividends on the extremely older tires. Brian McCann to the lead, and the 8 machine comfortably trying to pull away from Travis Dart.
Trying to pull away from Travis Dart, and a little bit of a braking issue for the 39. Got him loose into turn number 1, had to chase it all the way up the track, lost all that track position, and a big wiggle from the 26 allows the 11 and the 1 to get close to Travis Dart, but a big move from the 1 of Will Bustler. Almost saw all 3 of those get taken out with the 11 of Dalton Alexander. It's really testy up here at the front with the 19 of Jacob Grant also getting involved. A little bit of contact between him and Alexander, but everybody keeps it straight down the back straightaway.
It feels like it's been a while since we've seen the likes of Jacob Grant being up front like this. Also seeing the consistency from Travis Dart and Will Bustler. Now they're trying to find a great finish after the timing of these yellows that have solidified them inside of the top 5 currently. But this field's got to be careful. Zach Hall has moved up to 10th place already with the passes that 32 has made. Now he's hit a wall of drivers trying to figure out where the speed is going to be at to make these passes efficiently. With 40 laps to go, it's all on the line. You got to make these passes and don't get caught up in anyone else's mess.
Yeah, don't want to get caught up in anybody's mess. Don't want to get caught in the wrong line and lose track position. He's got the 7 of Cedric Hunter just following him through, using that 32 as a pick to get through the field, getting by the 101 here of Philip Chavez, the 39 of Brandon Pierce in front of him, but caution's out.
It's the 6. It's going to be Jonathan Burt. Hard on the brakes and sliding down into entry turn 3. Self spin, bringing out another caution here tonight, which honestly, I would say saves Brian McCann, but also could be assisting Zach Hall and Cedric Hunter, as it brings the field back together. Making these passes could be a little bit more efficient as they're clumped up with one another.
Yeah, McCann, I mean, pulled out to a pretty good little gap there as Will Bustler, Alexander, Travis Dart, Jacob Grant were all battling. Brandon Pierce going to bring that 39 machine down pit road for what's should be his final pit stop of the night. And I mean, I think for McCann, didn't really necessarily want to see this caution. Zach Hall, Cedric Hunter had a lot of traffic to work through, but this is just going to bunch them back up and get that 32 and that 7 machine closer to the 8 of Brian McCann, but still a lot of traffic for those guys to get through.
Well, with this being our 19th caution of the day, we will take a quick step away here tonight. Give ourselves a break. Give the drivers, as they're pacing, to cool off. Get ready for less than 40 laps to go for the Full Send Racing Series. You're watching race number 10, the Next Level Racing 200 at Martinsville. We will be back right after this to see who's winning here tonight.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Basket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Trish on the bottom.
Richard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Apromitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Well, obviously, I've got some poor timing when bringing out when we should go to commercial break, because we go from caution to caution. Hey, we have hit 20 now here for the Full Send Racing Series, as you're watching the Next Level Racing 200 at Martinsville as the field goes green. A couple of wild moves go around, but it's the back half of the field getting caught up in a mess as John Dart gets pushed around and collecting a few drivers with him. No one's going to be having to require damage, but repairs should be going underway. My name is Sam Dyer. With me up in the booth is it's going to be Trevor Earhart, as it has been a wild race of looking how these drivers are being up front. But Trevor, Travis Dart's still up front. We're also looking at Dalton Alexander, a fill-in driver, but one driver we were pointing out under commercial break was the fact that the 9 is inside of the top 10.
Yeah, Brian Wilson, I mean, we've seen him being involved in a couple of wrecks, really kind of been at the back of the field, but now up inside the top 10, having a really good run for himself now, but has the unfortunate position of having Cedric Hunter, Cameron Sarton, Zach Hall, Brandon Colley all around him on a little bit fresher tires, but Wilson doing a great job nonetheless trying to hold on for himself.
I mean, he's holding on, holding steady, and I think what's interesting here is we talked about when drivers need to come into pit road and maybe make that final stop of the race. I know for the majority of the drivers, as being Cedric Hunter, Cameron Sarton, Zach Hall, they've made their stop. They're good to stay out. Same could be made for Brian McCann. Dalton Alexander he has been out there for over 110 laps on the tire and fuel stint. And with less than 30 laps to go, I believe with the amount of caution laps that we've had, if they continue to go at this pace, the 11 should be all right to keep the position he's in. And also, his tires should last to make it to the end of this race.
Hey, why not give it a shot? We've seen what the back half of the field is like. Why give up this track position? He's in second right now. I mean, why give up? Why give that up and go to the back and see what he can do to hang on? And who knows, Sam? I mean, we keep getting these cautions. Might hold on to get himself a top 5, potentially a top 10.
There's a chance. Dalton Alexander going to be in second place with those older tires. Some drivers into pit road getting service done. Going to be William Duff, Joshua Altus, Trey Jackson, Ryan Lynch. Going to get some service done for themselves. Another driver that's just been out there just hoping for kind of hoping for a bone to be given is Curtis Valechka, who has been out there the longest of anyone on tires and fuel. 153 laps is the 44, but he's been out there trying to get his laps back. At one moment tonight, he was 8 laps down, currently 4 laps down. You got to give kudos to the 44, who continues to stay out on track, even with the early troubles that he found himself in.
Hey, might find himself up inside the top 25 if he can, if a couple more drivers fall out of this thing, who knows? But Sam getting lined up here for another restart. This is going to come with about 26 laps to go in the race. We've seen a lot of aggression in that time when we were at commercial break. Saw some more aggression on this on that restart. Who knows what we're going to see on this one?
Well, it seems like our top 5 pretty neat and tidy, but can they find the braking zone as our top 2 riding on top of one another into the restart zone? Dalton Alexander, Brian McCann. McCann with the better launch, a little bit of wheel spin deeper in the field, but a huge dive from the 26 on the outside.
Try to start trying to get around those older tires, but he's going to get held up with the one of Will Bustler. Cedric Hunter trying to fight with the 19 of Jacob Grant. Cedric Hunter on the freshest of tires. There goes the 9 of Brian McCann, takes out the 24 and the 32.
And as well, Cedric Hunter goes up to the outside wall for the 7 machine. What was looking like a promising move up through the field in a must-win scenario. Instead, after the beating and banging gets pushed up and damage to the 7, but even bigger contact for other drivers in that incident.
It just all started with the 9 of Brian Wilson. I think just, again, too much rear brake in it. I think it was a little bit of contact from the 19 of Jacob Grant that got the 7 of Cedric Hunter up into the outside wall. And you can see it right here. The 9 just gets in way too deep, gets into the 24 right in front of them. The 19 gets into the 7. Zach Hall nowhere to go. Cameron Sarton gets spun around. The 93 of Christopher Melton, who was having a great run for himself up in the top 10, also involved. But just more kind of chaos and carnage as these restarts get more and more aggressive, as these drivers get more and more desperate to get these positions.
Zach Hall might be calling it a night early, 32, immediately after being involved in that wreck. Frustration mounted, took a tow to pit road. Doesn't have required damage, is Zach Hall, but you can tell a lot of these drivers that felt like they had some good running vehicles getting caught up in these messes just feel like, hey, what's the point? I'm already locked in with a win or solid points coming into tonight. So I'm just going to take a step out. No longer want to be a part of this mess, as we've got ourselves coming up to less than 20 laps to go when we go back to green flag action.
And I mean, it's just going to get more and more aggressive. And for Cedric Hunter, Sam, I don't think lost a lot of track position, maybe 2 spots for himself. I believe he restarted that last restart up in 5th or so. Now going to restart 7th, so at least going to be on the inside line. He's got the 99 of Brandon Cawley behind him, Christopher Norris there. I mean, so still a chance for Cedric to get up there and get to Brian McCann. But I mean, with these caution laps just keep taking away, it's only doing Brian McCann, Dalton Alexander, Travis Dart, Will Bustler, and those guys more and more good for them.
Oh no, Cedric Hunter might have been given a penalty of going to the end of the line. He just parked it on pit entry and let the field go. And the 7 now into pit road. This is going from bad to worse for the 7 machine. And it looks like, hearing reports, his VR system looks to be going bad. This has been a troublesome spot, for VR drivers every once in a while. And it looks like for Cedric, he's done. Zach Hall's done. That's 2 top contenders now out of this race. Brian McCann's feeling a lot more comfortable up front with 20 laps to go.
Yeah, feeling more comfortable. Cedric Hunter still trying to roll, maybe it looks like, as he's on the apron to pit road, and there's the tire barrier.
Yeah.
And I think that there's the toe. Unfortunate night for Cedric Hunter. What was looking like a promising run for him, and was in a pretty decent position even after the spin. Just now goes up in smoke for himself as the 7 machine on pit road and out for the evening.
Yeah, I've just got a report. His VR system went black. His throttle pedal hung, meaning it's full throttle, and his engine blew up. That's why he coasted into the barrier. As the field, well, the rest of them, we've got a total of 21 on the lead lap. As Dalton Alexander tries to get a win as a part-timer on Brian McCann, the 4-time winner this season, going for his 5th win. Already some heavy braking by the one-wheel Bustler as we're back to green flag action. Less than 20 laps to go.
Less than 20 to go, and McCann not clear of the 11 of Alexander. Alexander driving it in deep, trying to stay to the outside. I mean, even on those older tires, Sam, he's putting up a heck of a fight with the aid of Brian McCann, still to the outside as they battle for the lead, going back into 1 and 2. Travis Dart just hanging right there behind him, waiting to see who's going to slip up, who's going to make the mistake as Dart runs in 3rd, but this battle for the lead continues into 3 and 4.
All drivers inside of our top 5 have over 75 laps into their, oh no, trouble for the 101. Philip Chavez going to be spun around, and McCann had the nose ahead. They'll keep the lead with this caution flag. But I was going to say our top 5 all have 75 lap or older tires, while Brandon Colley, he's only got 39 laps on his tires. This 99 could be sneaky quick. Watch out once we go back to green flag racing, but instead, it's the 101 bringing out a yellow here tonight.
And it's going to keep taking the laps away. This is what McCann needs, but I got to say, Dalton Alexander looked really feisty on those older tires. We got to look and see what happens here to Philip Chavez down the back straightaway, side-by-side battle in there with the 5 of John Dart. Just gets too deep into 3 and 4, and around goes the 101, head in contact to the outside wall.
No, that one looked like maybe a little bit of issues on trying to maybe put more brake into it. It's just the braking zones, they've been shifting a lot for drivers, and the braking zones to the brake bias have not been matching to bring out another caution here tonight as it builds up. And the timing of these yellows, I mean, that was the best fight we've seen so far by Dalton Alexander on Brian McCann. It's just hard to really bet against Brian McCann, you could say. This H just been looking too strong. The fact that his only real trouble was earlier in the race when he got caught on the outside, lost a bunch of track position, but gained it all back later in this race. It seems like all his contenders that used to challenge the 8 here tonight all have found bad luck that have set the 8 up into this great spot.
Yeah, I mean, you think back to it, Brandon Colley, Christopher Norris take each other out early on in this race. Zach Hall calls it a night after being caught up in an incident. Cedric Hunter with the VR issues out of the race as well. Cameron Sarton, who was looking quick, caught up in the same incident with Zach Hall. I mean, just all the guys that you would think would be up there fighting with Brian McCann, pretty much having trouble throughout the night. Brandon Colley's going to restart this in 6th. Ken Campbell back there as well on fresher tires in 7th. Norris in 9th. But I mean, Sam, we're running out of laps, 15 to go. And looking like the restart maybe with 14 or 13 laps to go. Will Dalton Alexander have another great restart like he did and be able to put up another fight?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be tough. I mean, you put in so much heat on that last run, hoping that this pacing, the heat cycle helps you out and assists. Well, to find out, Ken Campbell, Brandon Colley going to be in the freshest of rubber back in 6th and 7th. Can they get any opportunity? Because with the laps ticking away, it kind of takes away any chance that they have with their fresh rubber. I think Ken Campbell, you look at vehicles that look in one piece with fresh rubber, the 15 looks like he's got the best chance, but up front, it's Brian McCann, who is in complete control for this group as we wait for the 1 to go marker, as it is given to the field. Picking the inside is the 8 machine.
Picking the inside. The question's going to be, can he time this restart and get a good jump on the 11, or will Alexander be able to get another great jump like he did the last time? And if he does, what's going to happen behind them? Will Bustler, Travis Dart, then you've got Jacob Grant, Brandon Colley on the fresh tires. How's that going to go? We saw a little bit of wheel spin from the 19 before that kind of checked that inside line. Will it happen again this time? Will we get more than a couple laps, or will we see another caution? Sam, those are the questions as we get ready for this restart.
And we do have overtime, if necessary, for this field as we hit the restart zone. Here we go. It's Brian McCann, Dalton Alexander. Alexander did not get the launch that he needed. Instead of being on the outside, he'll have to drop down low, set up for a good run. But it looks like for Brian McCann, just too strong of a push. But battling for 4th place, it's going to be the 99, and Brandon Colley fighting back, trying to grab these positions for a chance to battle for these front runners.
Trying to get by the one of Will Bustler. Contact made. Bustler in the wall. Colley saves it. They're spinning behind him. They keep it straight. We stay green somehow.
They go 3, 4, almost 5 wide trying to go through this course, but yet somehow they keep it straight. We stay green. Will I throw that away? They're wrecking on the backstretch.
77, William Duff into the inside wall. The 27 spins to avoid him. We restack, restart one more time. Brandon Colley, though, up to 4th. Sam, maybe even after that contact with Will Bustler, gained a couple of positions for himself.
Yeah, I mean, gaining the spot up to 4th. Ken Campbell going to be up in 5th. That's going to be an interesting spot on how they're going to attack this as race control. Thank you to Steve Benjamin for running race control. Going to bring out, going to be letting us know 10 laps to go here tonight. 23rd yellow of the night. And again, we do have overtime if it's needed with 5 or less laps left in the race. If caution flag comes out before the white flag, we will go into overtime. And looking at the tires situation for these drivers, again, it's very skewed on the amount of caution laps we've had. So it's really hard to say, hey, this is for sure where the drivers find themselves with, you know, green flag running laps compared to yellow flag laps. But based off the data that we have, Brian McCann going to be on 90 lap old tires. Dalton Alexander on 131 lap old tires. Travis Dart on 99 lap old tires. Brandon Colley on 47 lap old tires. Ken Campbell, Christopher Norris, 40 lap old tires. Then it's going to be Burt in the 6 machine. Jonathan Burt, 22 laps ago since he went into pit road, but his data not informing when he went into pit road to get service. I believe he was evading an incident. That's why it is the data's kind of skewed on the last time that he came in to get service done. But our top 6, it's 4th, 5th, and 6th with fresh as of rubber. But can they have enough time to even battle our top 3?
Yeah, it's going to be the question, even if they have enough time. I mean, if Colley can pick off 1, maybe 2 of these guys and get a caution, he might have a shot at Brian McCann. I mean, Norris there going to be as well, Campbell as well. And Jonathan Burt, I mean, Sammy, he's been involved in several incidents himself here tonight, and he's up inside the top 10. I mean, just a never give up attitude from some of these guys here tonight, getting them good runs. And again, Dalton Alexander, I mean, he's on the oldest tires. He pitted the stage break and up there in 2nd and was running back down the leader of Brian McCann before that caution came out.
Well, I mean, we don't talk about how many times drivers go into pit road unless we're trying to count how many tires drivers have. Looking through the board of drivers, you talk about never give up attitudes. Well, there's a handful of them that have had to pit over 10 times tonight. Joshua Altus has pitted 11 times tonight. Trey Jackson has pitted 19 times. Brian Wilson has pitted 18 times. But it's Ryan Lynch, who's still on the lead lap, has pitted 25 times here tonight, still able to keep the engine running and trying to figure out how far ahead can the 3 finish here this evening with less than 10 laps to go. It's going to be a 5-lap shootout when we go back to green flag racing. Thank you for joining with us. It's been a long one. There's been a lot of wrecks, a lot of damage. But Brian McCann going to be the front runner for the 8 machine. Dalton Alexander in 2nd. Brandon Colley going to be in 4th with Travis Dart, Christopher Norris, Ken Campbell. Let's figure out how the end of this race is going to go. We get another quick caution. This could be putting us into overtime as the pace car's into pit road. Here we go. Brian McCann, Dalton Alexander into the restart zone. And Alexander, a little bit of a decent launch. Not close enough to get to the outside. Travis Dart right to the rear bumper. Almost contact as he exits at 2.
Yeah, Travis trying to fend off the 99 of Brandon Colley. Drove it in really deep, almost got into the back of the 11. Colley almost gets into the back of the 26. Here comes Christopher Norris to the outside. But this is what McCann needs. He needs those guys to battle behind him to pull out a gap as Colley, Norris side by side again. Travis Dart trying to hold on for what he can, but it's the battle for 4th. But here's another caution.
Caution, we're going to overtime. The 12 of Trey Jackson finds himself getting spun around and another too aggressive into the corner and losing the rear end incident.
Well, one of those, too much brake bias, got in too deep, spins out, and here we go for green-white attempt number 1. We have 3 attempts at this here tonight, Sam. We might end up using all 3 of these attempts, and who knows what's going to happen. I mean, if you're Dalton Alexander, do you give a little bit of a bump to the 8? What happens behind him with Travis Dart, Brandon Colley? I mean, we saw how deep the 26 drove it in to hold off the 99. This is going to get really interesting here in this first attempt.
That it is. I mean, looking at the way that these restarts have been, we've been able to at least take 1 lap green, which I think this gives sign we may not have to use all 3 of our restart green-white overtime attempt here tonight. We might only have to use 1. Because it is a green-white checkered when we're here in overtime. Many of these drivers will only have 2 laps to finish out this race, but we have 3 attempts if needed. If the first lap a caution flag comes out, we will go into attempt number 2. Same thing happens at attempt number 2. If a caution flag comes out on that first lap, we will go into attempt number 3. Attempt number 3, slightly different variant on rules. We'll get to that if we need to, but if we get the white flag, this with 1 to go, that's when the gloves are off. It is all about who wins this race, who crosses the line first, as no caution flag can be thrown on a white flag, but there have been many a times in the past where a yellow flag has been thrown right before the leaders cross the line to officially take the white flag, so we could see drama like that potentially here on this restart.
We very well could see that drama, and I saw a little bit of a pinch there from the 11 to the 8 coming to that restart zone, trying to pinch the 8 down. Time that restart, didn't get it done quite the way he wanted to, so I expect more aggression from Dalton Alexander on this restart. Travis Dart kind of the wild card there in 3rd place. Brandon Colley, Norris, Campbell, all on the fresh tires. What are they going to be able to do here? I mean, it's going to be a quick shootout for these guys. Who's going to not be afraid to use the bumper? That's going to be the real question here.
As the field waits for the 1 to go marker, 24 cautions. The previous record for the Full Send Racing Series was 16 back in IRP in Season 3. Tonight, I mean, there was kind of that sense and feeling, Trevor, you could say, with the way that we knew some drivers are kind of aggressive, and coming to a short track like Martinsville where aggression can reward you or hurt you, and it is certainly mounted up to a night like this where drivers are feeling the pain, but can they find themselves getting into victory lane at the end of this evening? Brian McCann, leader currently, the 8, trying to go for his 5th win this season. Dalton Alexander, the 11th machine, filling in for Tyler Thomas. Dalton Alexander's been a part-time driver for Texas Speed, and could be another win for that Texas Speed team. Then he got the 26, Travis Dart, trying to get into victory lane for himself. Brandon Colley, a win would place him in the playoffs and give him a breath of fresh air after the bad luck the 99's been feeling. Christopher Norris in 5th, trying to get a 2nd win after winning at Spa. Who's going to get it done here tonight? Could Ken Campbell, who's waiting in the wings, back in 6th to maybe find some spacing? It's going to come down to these last couple of restarts. Welcome to overtime. Attempt number 1, the Next Level Racing 200. Here we go. This could be the final restart of the night into the restart zone. Alexander is ahead by a mile. McCann is waiting for forever, and here we go.
What a interesting restart there. McCann gets tapped. He's going to go around from the 26 of Travis Dart. Hangs on to
he's
it.
still straight, and let the carnage reign as he spins around the field. It's gridlock time in overtime attempt number 1. And with it's just, I don't know what happened on that restart, but our field of required damage just ballooned out to almost over half the field, forced to pit road. That's Brian Wilson, that of Alex Jones, Ryan Lynch, Tony Brett, Cameron Sarn, Peter Dillon, Sam Siegel, Philip Chavez joining the fray of that of David McConnell into pit road. And the driver that was leading at the 8 of Brian McCann will drop them all the way back to 16th as we're going to overtime attempt number 2. Dalton Alexander, our leader, Brandon Colley 2nd, and Ken Campbell on some of the freshest rubber up front in 3rd place.
Brian McCann is not going to be a happy driver here tonight. I mean, that restart looked like the 11. I mean, the 11 didn't technically jump it, but he had such a gap on the 8 coming to that restart zone, and then Travis Dart just gets into the back of the 8 of McCann. You can see it there, got him loose. Everybody's trying to hang on to it. Colley gets by, and another little tap there from the 26 kind of sets us all off. And I mean, just nowhere to go for anybody. The 39 of Brandon Pierce caught up in that. And I mean, the whole field, Sam, gets caught up in this. I'm still not sure. And it looks like an EOL for the 11.
And with an EOL, I mean, right now, Dalton Alexander, as you see, just the carnage of drivers piling in. And really, Dalton Alexander is pleading right now, trying to figure out, why am I being penalized? It looked like for Brian McCann, he dropped his speed, and the 11 was trying to figure out how to react to it. I mean, if he just slowed down, slammed on his brakes, he would have jacked up the whole entire outside lane. Instead, it just becomes calamity, and this is going to be, I mean, this is going to be a very long discussion, as you can just see everyone piling in on, sounds like Steve Benjamin. EOL to the 11, you see the start. The 8 just seems like he's lingering back. The 11's trying to hold steady on pacing, and drivers have to make the decision. You're either going to run the same, that of positioning of, you're looking at your mileage, you're trying to hold a steady mileage for yourself, or the leader might back off on his pace. And I'm curious if that's going to be something that's going to be looked at later on after this race, but it looks like penalty might be given to Dalton Alexander. And EOL, that is frustrating for the 11, who's in a lead spot, but they're still having a discussion on what they're going to do on this award, because this is incredible, because you could be finding yourself with Brandon Colley either with the lead, which would be massive for himself on overtime attempt number 2, or Dalton Alexander could be in the lead position here.
Yeah, I mean, it still looks like the penalty is sticking right now. I mean, Alexander pleading his case here and still leading the field. And I mean, it's not like he did anything wrong. He kept pace speed. It did all he needed to do, and it looks like he's going to take this lead position here. Brandon Colley going to light up on the outside, and this could get really interesting here.
And there's been no report. There's been no extension on the caution. Dalton Alexander's going to keep the lead here on this restart. Attempt number 2 is underway. Dalton Alexander spooking the whole entire field after thought he was going to get an EOL. Instead, he won't. He'll pull away. Ken Campbell now going to be putting the pressure on Brandon Colley, who's got to be frustrated, thinking the meltdown just continues on the 99's luck.
Yeah, and Colley's got to hold off the 15 to Ken Campbell. I mean, that might be for the race lead, but not going to do it. He's going to lose that position to the 15. Here comes the 38 of Norris. Colley going to drive it in deep, trying to get back to the outside, but Norris going to hold him off. Dalton Alexander in the lead, but with a potential penalty here on the white flag lap.
And who will take the win? Does it go to Ken Campbell, or does it go to Dalton Alexander? We'll get the reports after the fact, but on the exit of turn number 4, Dalton Alexander unofficially wins here tonight for the Next Level Racing 200. And let the calculators, the penalties, all continue, and let the frustration mount, because the confusion is still unknown on what the situation was supposed to be on that restart, as Colley showing some frustration. And for Dalton Alexander, not even going to go for the run. Black flag has been given. Ken Campbell is your winner.
I mean, it's got to be heartbreaking for Brandon Colley. I mean, going to come home in third, but what probably should have been the race win for himself in controversy here at the end of this race, Sam.
It just doesn't make sense why you don't just send him with the EOL. If he's penalized, get him out of the way. Instead, you hurt Brandon Colley, who's in a must-win scenario, and you give the win to Ken Campbell as the 15 gets to burn it down. It's going to be a long week, gotta say, Trevor. Frustration on the amount of cautions, frustration with maybe some of the calls, but the one thing that we have been confirmed right now is Ken Campbell is your unofficial winner, with Christopher Norris second. Brandon Colley will be third, so that's going to be an interesting interview with the 99 and a spotlight driver right after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show. And you better get your popcorn out because this one's going to be a spicy one. We only have our top 3 to talk to as the Full Send Racing Series had their historic, most ever cautions, and drama is to the max on how the last restart, second attempt in overtime went down. It probably should have been Brandon Colley in the lead position. Instead, Dalton Alexander gets to take the launch, even though he was penalized, which allows the winner to be Ken Campbell with the drama at the end. The 15, though, he gets the victory. Ken Campbell, congratulations on your win. I know it wasn't the way you were expecting to win, but how are you feeling after this one, after a very long caution-filled event?
Exhausted for going 20 miles an hour the entire race. Yeah, that just the whole thing was, restart central, and I'm very bad at restarts. And so found a couple of things there that I think I can take for moving forward. And so happy about that. Just trying to stay out of trouble. And we were worried about the pit. We were worried that we stayed out too late. We came in with 50 to go. And then Zach ended up getting caught up. And we thought he was going to win the race going up for that. He got caught up. And then Norris and I did a pretty good job just kind of, slowly but surely moving forward. And then the stuff there at the end is super unfortunate. This was Colley's race. I unintentionally stole it, but you can't make me give it back.
I mean, Ken, that's going to be the talking point for tonight and probably going into next week was that final restart. I mean, what's going through your head knowing that the 11 has a penalty? Is he going to drop back? Is he going to take that restart? I mean, what's going through your mind as you're coming, through 3 and 4, getting ready to come to green?
Yeah, just a lot of confusion because I was talking to Norris in team chat, and it's like, well, he had a penalty, but he's not dropping back yet. And then he comes over the radio, and he's like, yeah, it's going to be a pass-through. And I was like, okay. And so really halfway down the backstretch, I still didn't know if I was going to be lining up behind Colley and him taking the inside or what was going to happen. And I was like, well, it's, saying get ready. So I guess I'm just going to get in behind him and see what happens. And then we're going around, and I was like, did I just win? And so Zach popped in. He was like, yeah, you got it. And so, again, hate it for Colley, but, yeah, just happened to be right place, right time. And keeping my nose clean is what did it.
Yeah, that was something that I was starting to point out in those final 20 laps. You look like one of the cleanest vehicles that had the freshest of rubber there late. I mean, what was the decisions to come into pit road? Because it just seemed like from us up at the booth, it was such an impossible question to answer on when the right time to come into pit road was.
Yeah, so initially, we were going to stay out the entire time. Right when the other guys were pitting, Zach was out front in the clean air, and he was running the fastest laps of the race, not just of his race, but of the entire race. And it's like, well, there's not a whole lot of reason to pit. We hadn't had the fall off. And so I was keeping track of the green flag laps that we had run, and it hadn't been that many. But we knew that McCann was coming, and he was kind of the leader on the fresh tires. And once he got past me for 5th, and I was going to be restarting on the outside, I was like, well, all the fresh tires is going to be behind me, and I'm on the outside, so I'm going to go ahead and pit now. And that's what Norris and Zach, they heard me say that, and then they decided to come down as well.
Well, Ken, still an impressive run for yourself here this evening to keep your car as clean as you did and to get into victory lane, even though it was kind of a head-scratching moment. You are a winner in Season 5. Congratulations on that. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours.
As always, first and foremost, thanks to my wife, Casey, and my kids, Logan, Jet, and Easton, for all their support and everything that I do. My mom and sister and nephew Lawson for tuning in and watching the races. All my teammates at Freaky Fast Racing. Zach, I hate that he got taken out tonight. Norris, heck of a race, finished second. And really, it was just which one of us restarted on the right side was going to win that. Medlin, who couldn't be here, and this is his favorite track, so I guess I gotta give this one to him. Cole at Wanna Go Graphics, make sure I look good on track. Everybody here at the league, Steve Benjamin, the admin, and you guys up in the booth.
Well, thank you so much, Ken, and thank you for giving us the show we got to cover here tonight. Congratulations on the win, and enjoy these last 5 races of the regular season to build up some of those playoff points.
I appreciate it, boys.
Well, that's going to be your winner here tonight, Ken Campbell in the 15. Like he said, he didn't want to win it the way that he did, but he ain't giving it back. And the driver that had an impressive start to the race and had to work his way throughout, our pole sitter tonight, Christopher Norris. Chris, congratulations on second place, man. How are you feeling after tonight's run? Because you had a weird one to start things off between yourself and Collie, and then you made the march to be up front at the end.
Am I like a graph chart or something? I know I was going up, down, up, down in positions. I don't know. That race, a little bit crazy, I can say.
Yeah, I mean Norris, I'd say it was crazy. Started on pole, got in that incident with Collie, and then through the course of the night, I mean, worked your way up through the field. I mean, overall, I mean, I know there was a lot of cautions, but I mean, what was it like working your way from the back to the front and making all the pit strategy calls that you had to make tonight?
It was sketchy. I know with other leads I race in, like WSSR, I've made pitch strategies on short tracks before that ended up just screwing me. So, I mean, what we did basically is it was either, one of us does it or we all do it. And we, I guess, came collective as a team, like at that lap, like 150, we were like, all right, we'll just go ahead and go down pit road, see what happens, and try to work our way up. Unfortunately, everyone else didn't pit. Like maybe a few did, but I mean, in the end, unfortunate for Zach, but we were able to work our way back up.
I mean, Norris, a strong run. We always see you run really well at the short tracks and road courses. How does it feel, coming into tonight's race, getting that pole and really setting the tone for yourself just right off the rip for the race went green?
Yeah, that was pretty ecstatic. I actually am a big fan of Martinsville. I've actually been to this track in real life about 2 times, enjoyed the racing there, and every single league race, I've enjoyed the race. Even if I've wrecked myself, got wrecked, the racing has been incredible. And I'm a little bit scared to do the racing here in ISRC in about 2 weeks, but we'll see what happens. And I'm also glad to get the pole, man. I mean, I basically won it on my pole lap because that's my second career pole, so I'm glad to finally be able to get that stat, and that's pretty cool to see.
Certainly is. Well, Chris, congratulations on a second place finish. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
Of course, you guys for the great show you guys put on. My family for watching and supporting the race. I'm not sure if they're still up. They probably went to bed. I feel bad for them, but shout out to them. The league admins, I know it was a tough race for them, but they still put on a pretty good show, I hope. Customlids.com, get yourself a great hat. And yeah, of course, and like I said, and my teammates, Zach Hall, Andrew Medlin, unfortunately was not here tonight, but hopefully he'll return soon. And Ken Campbell, of course, for winning the race. Great win by him.
Well, that's going to be the 38 machine of Christopher Norris finishing second here tonight. Congratulations and good luck on next week's race at Indy.
Thank you.
Well, from second place, let's go down to third position to a driver that was fighting and clawing to get himself into victory lane here tonight. Had some great chances to do so. We've got the 99 of Brandon Collie. Brandon, we'll start off with, how was your night? I know it didn't finish the way that you wanted, but man, the recovery runs that you were showing here this evening after being wrecked multiple times and still being inside of the top 3 at the end of the night, you got to take that as some positives, but how are you feeling after the way that this race ended?
I mean, the bounce back, Sam, I'm pretty proud of that, all things considered. I mean, you could just see the state of the car at the end of the thing. I sat there looking at my hood flapping for the last 50 laps. I felt okay with the speed. I mean, obviously qualified well and had that little mistake early on. Just racing with Norris. He and I went back and looked at it and just kind of reacted to him turning in like he was going to cover me off, and just that slight adjustment. I just nicked the curb on the entry and it pushed the nose out, and the second it got loose, I corrected and it snapped. So it took the both of us out from our great track position, but yeah, we came back hard, and we got the battle scars to prove it.
I mean, Collie, we talked to Ken about it, and probably the talking point going forward, and probably the hardest part of the race for you, that final restart, the second green white checkered. I mean, it doesn't go the way you want it. The cards don't fall your way. But I mean, what's going through your mind as you guys pace around trying to figure out what's happening up there?
I mean, I was kind of wondering if something was going to happen after the first restart. I noticed that the 11 was a good bit ahead, and I thought at the time that McCann was the leader, so I was like, well, that's kind of weird. And then I saw the black flag come out, and I was like, no way. If he's getting a black flag, it's mine. Like the leader has such an advantage, even if I'm on older tires or whatever. The gap that I can gain on the controlling the restart, it's just too much. Like they're gonna have to send it in on the last lap and pretty much wreck me to take it from me. And I was asking about it because I never saw him drop to the rear, and I assumed that it was going to be an EOL penalty. For whatever reason, it was just a drive-through, and it still allowed him to control the restart. And it, even though I technically was the leader, I didn't get to control the restart, and it just left me out in no man's land. There was no shot at that point. The outside is just too bad here at Martinsville. I'd had to have some really fresh tires compared to Ken and Norris to be able to hold on out there, and it's really disheartening. I hate it. I felt like I had the speed to win anyway, just circumstances to put me back there. But Steve's done a great job. I mean, does a great job here on Tuesdays, does a great job for us on Wednesdays, WSSR. But I feel like he missed one here.
Yeah, I mean, for us of the booth, it was a very confusing mark because we thought as well that the 11 was going to get an EOL on top of that other penalty, but instead it didn't fall into your hands. We're heading to 5 more races left in the regular season, Brandon, and I've talked to you about the fact that this season, with the way the points are lining up, it might be a must-win scenario for yourself. Are there any races that are coming up? As we've got Indianapolis, Phoenix, Talladega, Las Vegas, and Richmond being the last 5 races of this season, regular season. Are any of them feeling like possible wins for yourself?
Well, I mean, you have to look at Talladega. Statistically, out of the plate tracks, that's my best one. I've got more league wins there than at any other track. But I'm really good at Vegas, and I am exceptionally good at Richmond, especially in this Xfinity car. So Vegas and Richmond, I've definitely got circled. I'd hate to have to go in there as a must-win. I thought I wasn't going to have to worry about it here for a little bit, but we gained some good points all the same. We'll have to see how it shakes out, but hopefully we can go points racing and not have to go in there and win.
We're hoping for the same for you, Collie. And before we officially let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
First of all, thank you guys, Freaky Fast Broadcasting, Robert, Sam, Trevor. Going to be excited to go back and look at this one and hear the commentary for sure. Got to thank the league here at Full Send. Had a lot of fun here, even though it's been a bit frustrating. It's fun to come and race on Tuesday nights with these guys. Got to thank my mom for always sitting out in the chat and watching all my races, good and bad. Got to thank my teammates at Category 5 Esports, Zach Hall, Christopher Norris, Brian Johnson, Nick Crawford, Larry Yingling. And I got to give a special thanks to Norris. He could have been a lot more mad at me than he was with that first incident. But really wanted to take a look at it and not really put too much blame on it. And got to say, the kid's come a long way.
He certainly has come a long way on that maturity for the kid, but Brandon, I know for us it was confusion when you go back and watch that. That was the main thing for us. We feel bad for you. Thought that this one was in your grasp, but we hope that maybe the cards can lay in your favor here in the next couple of races.
I appreciate it, guys. We'll see what next week brings.
Can't wait for it. That's going to be the 99 machine to Brandon Collie. Yes, the win wasn't there, but a top 3 was 3rd place for himself here at Martinsville. As we get done with interviews, we only were able to get our top 3 as the field. Certainly, a lot of them can't wait for tonight to be done, as they had a total of 25 cautions, 2 attempts at overtime, and who knows what else could have been found if we went into overtime attempt number 3. A controversial ending for tonight's race, but it goes to Ken Campbell after the disqualification black flag penalty is given to the 11 machine, as Ken Campbell will get the win. Christopher Norris gets 2nd. Collie will find himself in 3rd. Christopher Melton, top 5 finish, the 93, known for late in the race being up front. He'll find himself finally able to conquer with a 4th place finish. That of Jonathan Burt, the top 5 finish for the 6th. Joshua Altis, who's involved with too many cautions to count, gets 6th. Jacob Grant gets 7th. Travis Dart 8th, John Dart 9th and 10th. Goes to Will Bustler. I mean, that's a lot of drivers that we saw in a lot of the wrecks that were able to find themselves with some top 10 finishes at the end.
Yeah, perseverance pays off for those guys, getting great finishes, especially Christopher Melton with his first top 5. Jonathan Bird, I mean, Sam, I think he was in, oh gosh, probably 14 of those cautions that we had tonight, but gets himself a top 5, so great run for him. Joshua Altus, I mean, he was in the first 2 cautions of the night. Great run for himself. Trey Jackson, another one of those drivers, going to come home in 13th that was involved in a lot of incidents, is able to somehow finish up there inside the top 15. Cameron Sarton back down there in 15th after getting involved in a late caution as well. How about Curtis Valechka, Sam? I mean, was 8 laps down at one point, hangs on, gets himself a top 20 finish for himself in the 44. Going to be, I believe, in 17th position. And then, further on down, heartbreak for Cedric Hunter with the VR issues. Zach Hall caught up in a late wreck. Takes him out of the race down there in the field. Nick Holland, who had a rough night all the way down there in 29th. Stephen Bustler, David McConnell also with rough nights down there toward the end of the grid. But what a race, Sam. A lot of cautions here tonight, and then controversy at the end. But I mean, that's short track racing, and that's Martinsville for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing. This is Martinsville. Martinsville can bring out the best and the worst in a lot of drivers, and here tonight certainly did bring out the worst. The most cautions ever thrown in a full send racing series tonight, 25 in total. Had to use 2 overtime attempts, and Ken Campbell, under controversy, finds himself getting the win. And the way the drivers lined up there, it would almost look like, hey, if you were involved with a lot of wrecks, you're going to get a better finish if you were up front fast. Too bad at the end of the night. But Sken, like I've said to the drivers, Trevor, 5 more races. Points are going to be crucial for these last 5 races, and they are impactful in some big races. Indianapolis, Phoenix, Talladega, Las Vegas, Richmond. And these are some classic racetracks that people know, but can they hold on when they take these Xfinity cars to those courses? As this field is getting themselves prepared for tonight's race to be done. I know a lot of our discussions have been made throughout the field, but for tonight's race, thank you so much for joining with us here this evening as we find ourselves just 2 more races left this week. Tomorrow night, WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series, the Gen 4 is going to go super speedway racing at Talladega. First race of the playoffs, you don't want to miss it. If you want to see some great action in those Gen 4, WSSR is your destination to go. But hey, if you don't trust what the WSSR is doing with the Gen 4s, Thursday night, they're running the Gen 4s as well. But they're going to be tackling the 2008 configuration of Atlanta. Hotlanta, Gen 4 slipping and sliding. That's going to be a great show before we take the weekend off. ISRC Truck Series on Monday. They continue with their round of 12 as they go road course racing at Road America. For right back here next week, Indianapolis certainly should be a good one, Trevor, on how this field is maybe try to recenter, go to a bigger track.
Yeah, it should be a good one. Sorry about that, Sam. I left you high and dry there for a second. My audio decided to reset, but hey, better now that the race is over than in the middle of the race. But going to Indianapolis next week, I think a lot of these guys are going to be happy to get to a 2.5 mile flat track, but enough space for these guys to beat and bang on one another and not have as much carnage and chaos that we saw here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what tomorrow brings. I mean, for next week brings, I know a lot of drivers have Indianapolis circled. To talk about how Zach Hall's excited for that one. Maybe that will be his redemption race after a couple of weeks where he thought maybe he had a chance to win, but it doesn't look like tonight was the night for that. Instead, we get a new winner, another one climbing, and Brian McCann still being the only driver with multiple wins this season. That's another incredible stat to look at. Again, 5 more races to go. Can't wait for it. But for tonight, thank you to all that joined with us on this marathon of pace laps at Martinsville. It was a good one. Thank you to all the sponsors, ButtKicker, Next Level Racing, Gersim Studios, and On the Throttle podcast for the Full Send Racing series. Race 11 should be a good one next week. But for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, for myself, Sam Dyer, for Trevor Earhart, for Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining with us here this evening. We will see you tomorrow night. WSSR playoff action. Who wins? Who can be moving on to the next round? You have to find out as tomorrow, Talladega is our next Freaky Fast broadcast.